Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Okay, my friends, once again, it is indeed time to get our talk on. It's More Than Talk from your host, J.C. McCauley, along with talk champion Jonathan Small. It's Monday. Morning, Jonathan. How are you?
Doing fine, Stan. It's good to be back here. As I say every single week, always looking forward to starting off the new week here with Morning Talk Live with J.C. McCauley Talk Show and everything.
How's your weekend?
Oh, nice. I mean, weather was nice. Work one day, off the next day, so kind of balanced. Was not able to attend the 60th West Indian Parade.
The 60th West Indian Celebration.
Okay.
Parade.
Missed that.
Festival. Carnival. Well, it was a parade. It was the Carnival Village. And then, of course, the concert.
So all day, nice event.
All day.
All day.
I was there all day from 12:30 until 8:30.
Well, you there every year though. That's one thing about you. You got that video recording, everything.
Yeah, video's done. It's up. You can watch it on AccessTV.org.
I'm gonna have to watch it then.
Yeah, it's 3 hours. 3 hours. 6 hours of video reduced to 3.
Nothing like being there though. Still, watching is gonna be nice, but still being there.
You
But
need
this
to be
event
there,
can't be the same.
Yeah, you needed to be
But
there.
it's like all these events always happening on Saturday. I guess that's the normal routine. Most events are gonna happen on a Saturday.
Yeah, Saturdays. People are off on Saturday.
Off on Saturday. I'm not off on Saturday, but that's the routine. Then Sunday's like a laid back day that you just relax and chill. So
yeah, there are some things going on Sunday. Alvin Carter had a family day over at Sigourney Park. Was this Saturday and Sunday, but I wanted to go over there, but I just didn't have time.
I think I did pass by. I did see something in Sigourney Park.
You didn't stop?
I didn't. I was busy. I had things I had to do, getting ready to go to work. But I had a little free time. Oh, was it yesterday? I thought I heard something yesterday.
Yesterday
it
Sunday,
was.
but Saturday and Sunday.
Sunday, so I got mixed up
Yeah,
with it.
I didn't know it was Sunday until this morning.
Oh, okay.
But it wouldn't have made any difference. I was in studio editing all day.
All day, yeah. Editing is a big job when you got to edit.
Yeah.
I remember you always telling me that. The editing is the hard part.
Yeah, editing.
Time.
I edited for 12 hours.
It take that long, or were you just working on a big project?
No, 12 hours. I was working on the parade.
Oh, the parade. Okay, I'm all mixed up with the parade.
Yeah, the parade. Yeah.
Hold on, but when you do the parade, no, it wasn't. Well, don't you? When you do something live, you still have to edit it though. When you're doing your video shoot,
It depends. Sometimes, like the last 2 years, it was live. Because of the pandemic, it was like hybrid. Some of the guests joined via Zoom. You know, year one, it was totally virtual. Year two, they carried it over to do live. This year, live was not practical because the stages were so far apart, and the technical limitations. Well, let me rephrase that. The resources necessary to do 2 live stages remotely exceeded the budget.
Oh,
it's possible, but these things, you put a football field between the stages, and you got everything changes. Everything changes because it takes a long time to set up, so you can't just move. You have to have 2 locations live, ready to go.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not practical nowadays because so much in social media is instant. So, you know, whether songs, because a lot of artists' songs have issues in terms of broadcasting them. So you have to do a lot of pre-production and planning and clearances and all that. And it's not, just tape it and put it on.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Within a 24-hour window. But that's small talk. And we have better small talk, Jonathan, small talk to attend to this morning, because of course it's Monday, which means we always have a special guest join us from somewhere around the country, who's an expert at whatever it is that they do, because that's why they're here, and they take time out of their very, very busy schedules to join us here and share their wisdom and information with us. So I always look forward to this. So,
all right. Well, the people out there this morning on Morning Talk Live with J. Stan McCauley's talk show, we have a veteran in the radio media industry, actually a returning guest. He was on Morning Talk Live with J. Stan McCauley talk show last year, and it was a pleasure having him on then, and it's going to be another pleasure having him back on again as well. The guest this morning, he is a radio talk show host. He's also an afternoon talk show host of Connecticut Today, based out of Milford, Connecticut, WICC, I believe, 600 AM, 107.3 FM. No other than Paul Pacelli. Good morning, Paul. How are you doing?
Good morning, guys. Great to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it on a Monday.
Definitely. It's great to have you back on. I'm go back listening to you a long time in the 2000s on another radio station. So I'm very familiar with you. Again, could you kind of let people know a little bit about yourself and background before we get into topics of discussion?
Sure. Born and raised in Connecticut, born and raised in New Haven. Been here all my life except for 4 years that I was away at school, and about 6 months that I worked out of state in the radio business. But born and raised Connecticut guy, and been bumming around in the radio business since 1983, 84, something like that. And started out like a lot of us do, playing records as a disc jockey. You remember those vinyl things? Yeah, we're playing records and, on a Saturday or Sunday morning shift. And then I segued over to doing news for about 10, 12 years and got into doing talk shows. Early 90s, I think my first talk show at a station here in the state was 1992. And I've worked all over the state, different parts of New England, have a side job where I do some stuff on a national basis. It's been fun. It's something I've known I wanted to do since, being fascinated with my mom's radio when I was about 5 years old, literally. Like, I knew this was it.
Right, Paul. Well, Paul, one thing about you, you're very versatile, so I know I can throw a lot of different topics and issues out there to you, statewide, nationally wise, and even internationally wise. Let's get your opinion, first of all, on the FBI investigating Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump's residency, where things currently stand at this point. How do you see this investigation going?
Well, this gentleman is this is wild. As we head into today, on this Monday, if you kept up with it over the weekend, a lot of people didn't, a lot of people did. The narrative now is coming from both sides, really, was this kind of a raid necessary? Now, as usual with Mr. Trump, there's his version of things, and there's the FBI and the Justice Department's version of things. Now, when this raid went down a week ago tonight, last Monday night, or we learned about it last Monday night, when I went on the air the following day, last Tuesday, my first part of my monologue was I told everybody, just calm down. Because what I think we have a tendency to do, guys, is we think we know everything within 2 or 3 hours. And sure enough, it played out over the week. We learned a little more from this side. We learned a little more from that side. Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, he said what he could say because it's an ongoing investigation. And now we have all this disagreement about, well, could Mr. Trump have legally declassified all those documents? And even if he did, should they have been removed? So where do we stand? I mean, I think we're in just for another weak guys of finger pointing. And again, this builds out to the bigger thing of about half the country that still likes Mr. Trump and about the other half of the country that still kind of despises the guy. So this should be an interesting week coming up with that.
Well, Paul, just on speculations, I mean, I give you my view that I'm hearing through media reports, just talking to people in general, is that this is really coming from the Democrats, that they don't want Donald Trump to run for president in, 2 more years? And then also that the FBI is really not, I guess they can't be trusted. I mean, that's one phase that I'm hearing, is that the FBI is not the most trustworthy federal bureau investigation. You can go back to Hoover and some other issues. And is the FBI really on top of this? Is there anything that, any red flags or any question marks that you can pick up from the FBI that might make people look at them that they're not doing this? I guess legally they have to be doing it legally, but trustworthy, is there something that you pick up some skepticism about the FBI?
Jonathan, you brought up a key point there, and I mentioned that on my show last week, and I'm sure we'll talk about it this week. You're right. There's a distinct difference, I think, from the FBI leadership to the rank and file agents in the field. I just mentioned last week, I have a good buddy of mine who was in media, and it wasn't really working out for him. So on a lark, he applied and became an FBI agent, and he participates in forensic investigations and, going through files and all that. But, he did tell me that he actually does go on raids, kind of like the one that we saw the other day. All those agents carry guns. So the visual, that you got off of what we saw last week disturbed a lot of people. One of the guests on my show last week was a local academic gentleman here. Now he teaches at the University of New Haven. He was a 25-year FBI special agent. And he made the point that raid on Mr. Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago was pretty much like any raid they would conduct looking for information like that. So even Democrats are saying, and some progressives over the weekend said, the visual was pretty bad if they don't have anything on it. Mm-hmm. So, and so, you guys know, right? In the media business, perception is reality. Mm-hmm. This is what we see or hear. So this is what people believe. And they see a bunch of people out there with guns and bulletproof vests, and they're like, is this America or some banana republic? Now, the agents themselves, it's like the military guys. They do what they're told. And John, you're right, there's a hierarchy. Mm-hmm. So the questioning, should be directed at the hierarchy. And now you have Mr. Trump saying, well, they could have gotten anything back they wanted. Just ask me. And you have reports coming out over the weekend where, the FBI and the DOJ are saying, well, we kind of did, and he wasn't cooperating. Then you have the president saying, well, I declassified those, and the folks at the National Archives saying, well, no, you really didn't, because there's a process for that declassification. So, gentlemen, it is what it is. It's gonna be another soap opera for another few weeks at least.
But I mean, would you kind of put this in the category? Let's say if they find some evidence that can prevent Donald Trump from running for election or running for office again as president, do you put this up there in the category, let's say, with the Watergate of Richard Nixon, or this is far less of a serious issue?
John, I mention all the time on my show, the part of the thing that got me in this business was being a kid about 72. So I was about 10 or 11 years old, and I'm watching Watergate. I don't really understand what the heck's going on because I'm 10 or 11, but I see all these guys, with their slick back hair and their nice, hand-cut suits talking about the president. I'm saying, oh, this is something's going on here. So I'm not going to watch Bugs Bunny today. Right. I'm going to watch this. Foghorn Leghorn can wait, Yeah, and that got me into this. So that's a comparison I've made and people have made. Is this on a Watergate level? Some people say no,
Hmm.
this is mostly created against Mr. Trump. Other people say it's even worse. But, John, to your point, this and the January 6th investigation, it's all aimed at one thing, keeping Mr. Trump off of the ballot in 2024. And my gut tells me that this thing with the documents is much more provable if it ever got to court. In other words, there's a process for declassifying these documents. And if they can say, well, he clearly broke the law in this, therefore he cannot run, versus, trying to get a federal court trial and a conviction on the January 6th stuff. And I've had numerous legal experts on both sides of the aisle on my show who say that could be a stretch. We know what he said, we know what happened, but did he directly cause that? So maybe they figure the document way is easier way to keep him from running in 2 years.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely stay in tune to that. And as I mentioned, Paul, you're very versatile, so we can talk about many different issues and topics. Recently, we lost two icons in the sports and entertainment field. Bill Russell passed away, former great Boston Celtic player. Olivia Newton-John, world-class singer, entertainer, actress, passed away. What's your take, first of all, on Bill Russell? I mean, how good a basketball player and how special of a person was Bill Russell to you?
There's that picture, John and Stan, that resurfaced just seconds after he died. And I think it was taken from maybe Sports Illustrated or a PR shot where he is sitting there and he's got his hands like this. I don't know whether you know the picture I'm talking about. And each one of them has a ring on it. And I think he only 10 fingers. So I think one of them had 2 rings. I think he run 11 rings
11.
in 15 years with the Celtics. He could have been the greatest winner of all time. I thought I read something where he was 21 or 22-0 in title games or elimination games, playoffs and everything. Was there a greater winner in sports? Probably not. But then you couple that in with what he had to go through. And, coming out of college and being a star. And let's face it, playing in a market that even today, and I love the city of Boston. I went to college there, and there are great people in that city. But when you read about some of the stuff that Bill Russell had to go through, I mean, some of the stuff is just disgusting. And he was the premier athlete in that market at the time, was fantastic. And then his coaching career, his broadcasting career. I mean, man. And the thing with Russell is, when you look at today's NBA, which is just, threes going up from everywhere and nobody plays the low post position anymore. You don't see the centers banging anymore. When you look at the fact that Bill Russell was he prided himself on his defense, his defense and his shot blocking. That's how he won. Yeah, he liked to score, but he always talked defense first and shot blocking and anticipation. So, and it's good to see the NBA is going to retire number 6 league-wide. So anybody who's wearing it now could wear it till they're done. But, much the way they did with Jackie Robinson's 42, the NBA is going to do that with Bill Russell's number, which I think is great.
And he also, Paul, stood up for many social issues. He just wasn't a typical basketball player, and that's all that he was about. He kind of spoke up heavily during the 60s for many different social issues. Do you think sometimes he gets overlooked because maybe he doesn't have the numbers that Wilt Chamberlain or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, numbers-wise, statistically, not so much winning. He may not have been flashy or powerfully dominating, but he seemed like he was a great team player. And he got the job done as a winner.
Sure, and maybe he is overlooked, from the numbers because of the great teams he was on. I mean, he had John Havlicek and Bob Cousy and Sam Jones and coached by the great Red Auerbach. And I guess when you're a star among stars, people get kind of starstruck, and he didn't really stand out points wise, but you can see what the people who played with him say, and even a lot of the more modern era players, I mean, they know about Bill Russell. And, it was a completely different game, guys, from back then. I mean, you had, the NBA was pretty much a big man's league, right? With Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Walton and Kareem. And now it's a completely different game. So, yeah, maybe he's game interesting. You always ask the question, if Bill Russell came out of college now, what does he do? Is he a star in the NBA? Probably, for at least his defense and his shot blocking. But who knows how these guys would fit in today? Really.
Well, Paul, he would be better, I think. Dennis Rodman was known as a rebounder and a defensive player, but that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't think he was much of a scorer.
No.
I don't know if he was the best team player, although he did won, I believe, a couple championships. I think he would be similar, maybe not exactly as Hakeem Olajuwon. You think Bill Russell falls into that category, maybe?
I think so. Yeah, I think so, and I think that you're right. I thought of that, John. That might be a perfect. It might be a perfect. Those are two guys that I thought about, Hakeem and Dennis Rodman. Yeah, because again, it was a different league back then. I mean, watch a game today. Watch a game for 20 minutes, and there's fights for rebounds, but you don't see that methodical half-court game where guys, set up on the wing and set up high, and then you look down low, and there was Russell or Chamberlain or Kareem in his early years, just banging each other. Back when players hated each other, it wasn't a love fest. Back then, you didn't have, I want to play with him. It was like, really? Celtics Lakers, right? Watch that today from 20 years ago. You think they loved each other?
The bitter rivalries of the Celtics, Lakers, even the Sixers, Celtics at one point, Sixers, maybe Lakers. It was a lot
throwing elbows at guys and down low and kneeing them and poking them. Oh yeah, Pistons, man. Remember that team?
Well, they called them the Bad Boys. The Pistons.
Yeah.
Bill Lambert and players like that. Rick Mahorn.
Give you an elbow, just give you this.
Also, I mentioned Olivia Newton-John. Now, she might be ahead of many people's time in this era, but she was really a great singer, a pretty good actress too. How would you kind of rate Olivia Newton-John? Would you put her up there with Madonna, or she's just a different type of singer?
The thing with if you could talk about singing, she could sing. And remember, people in that era with Olivia and other eras, they cut their teeth in an era where there wasn't that much overdubbing and re-recording. There was some, but auto-tune wasn't used where, geez, you could put me in front of an audience and put my mic through auto-tune and I would sound good. Olivia Newton-John, guys, was one of those, I talked about this the other day on my show. She really was one of those entertainers, multi-platform, right? Movies with Grease and Xanadu and all that. Television, she had television specials. She was always popping up on TV. And of course, the singing career, which we got used to in the early 70s. Her stuff was very slickly produced. It was very radio friendly, as we say in the business. So she's one of those multi-platform people. And I was talking about this on my show the other day. I guess, and she did live performances too. Maybe the closest thing to her today, with TV and movies and live performances and other projects, probably Lady Gaga. When you think about it. With, again, look at her with her movie career now, the stuff she records herself, and like the stuff she did with Tony Bennett, where she sang big band stuff. So yeah, there was that era, which I think is a bygone era now, of people that, did whatever they did well. And you couldn't get away from, oh, he's doing that, she's doing that. So she's really one of those people. With her passing, is one person less of that ilk remaining.
Well, why was her song "Let's Get Physical" so popular and so dominating for 1982? It kept Hall & Oates out of being number one. I guess her record was, I think, number one for about 10 weeks. I think people don't realize how well airplayed that song was. Was that just a unique song for her?
I think, well, she had done country. Remember, she'd done Grease, which was massive, and the whole "Let's Get Physical" thing. There was a record executive talking about that the other day. For the early '80s, it had a dance beat to it. She looked real good in that video. It was a cheesy video, but she looked good. I mean, those videos back then looked like what a high schooler would do today.
Right.
And let's face it, the sexual entendre there, the double entendre, even though the video was kind of like comedic a little bit, and again, you said, John, the power of radio. That's the only way you heard songs back then. You couldn't download anything, right? You couldn't stream anything. People, if you wanted to hear a song, you said, oh, it just played on the radio, and you knew that if you listened enough, it would come up in about another 90 minutes or so. So, yeah, I mean, all the stars aligned for her back then.
Right. Well, she definitely was a great singer, and like you say, versatile also with her style of music, or country, western, and just pop music, and other styles of her acting really came across very well. And she will truly be missed, pretty much. Yeah. The others, I guess, people get a title, let's say King of Pop, Queen of Pop. Yeah. It's usually long lasting. Yeah. Is Madonna or Whitney Houston the Queen of Pop? I mean, I always hear Madonna is the Queen of Pop, but then sometimes I hear Whitney Houston is the Queen of Pop. Who really, in your opinion, technically is the Queen of Pop?
Wow, that labels are so tough. I remember when being in radio, when they both came on the scene, and they were called out of the box artists, meaning that back when there was no such thing as streaming a song or a record company sending you an MP3 to your music director, and you could download that and boom, it's on the radio. We had a term in radio called "you're an out-of-the-box artist." You know what that means? Open up the box, take the record out, walk it over to who's ever on the air, and tell them this is the next record you're going to play. So, yeah, Whitney Houston and Madonna were both that way, it's impossible, I think, to compare them or pick one over the other because, look, you can listen to Madonna stuff, and it's very well produced. She does have some singing talent, but I think with Madonna, maybe she might have been that queen title, maybe a little more because of her, again, the aura, the image of her, kind of the bad girl, you know what I mean? And some of those videos. Whereas Whitney, you still listen to Whitney Houston today, guys, right? And you say to yourself, "What a voice!" Right?
All right.
You use it. I mean, just the sheer power and magnificence of that voice. I mean, that version. Now, granted, it wasn't sung live because they wanted to make sure it didn't screw up. But that version of the Star Spangled Banner that she sang before the Super Bowl, I think with the Giants in Buffalo. Oh my God. Now you can tell it was done in the studio, but you just listen to the sheer power of that vocal. I mean, as a pure singer, I honestly would put, now as opposed to Madonna, as a pure singer, I would put Whitney Houston up there with Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan. I would, as one of the greatest 2 or 3, maybe 5 female singers of all time.
Stan, let me bring you into this conversation. If you first of all, if you have any questions you want to ask Paul, but how do you rate? I mean, is there, in your opinion, a queen of pop? I mean, do you think Madonna really is the queen of pop, or is it Whitney?
That's hard. But I think Paul's assessment is spot on. Yeah. Showmanship for Madonna she's a show. She's like Michael Jackson. There's the show. Whitney's shows weren't glamour glitz. She was like a star, like a movie star, but in her voice.
Right.
So it's hard.
Well, I think just because
like James Brown, James Brown show. The show. It's. I think that's what gives you the.
Well, I'm trying to find out if you're labeled the queen of pop or the king of pop. Does that make you the best singer, or do you just fit that?
Not necessarily the best singer. You're the king of pop.
You're the king of pop. Okay.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson's not the world's greatest singer.
No, he's not. No. But the king of pop means you're at an icon level when they give you that title. Like, you have the queen of soul, Aretha Franklin.
Right.
You have the king of soul, James Brown.
I don't know. I don't know if this is. I don't know if this is true. I would say what comes to my mind is you're talking about one who is synonymous with the genre, not necessarily the best,
Right.
at a particular thing, but king of soul, queen of soul, operatic diva. I mean, there are some people who are so good in the genre that they capture the respect and attention of everybody. And I think that's a title that others bestow on you, out of respect for what you've done in the industry. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's how it seems to me. They're both great, but there are nuances that make them different. I personally wouldn't think of Whitney as a queen of pop.
Yes. So I don't know where that title came from. Maybe I'm just misleading people putting Whitney as the queen of pop comparison. I'm not trying to compare who's the better singer, just that who is the official queen of pop is more of what I'm trying to find out. And I think Madonna still gets the votings if you ask. But also, Paul and Stan, they now say, what is Beyonce kind of that next level of the so much queen of pop? I mean, she's really popular as well, Paul.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, when that new album or CD that came out recently, it's the first thing she's done in 3 or 4 years. Yeah, she's right up there. I mean, Beyonce's up there, and then you have kind of the singer hip hop genre, Cardi B and all that out there. And the point you gentlemen made a few minutes ago regarding the show versus the talent. I have a buddy of mine who works for one of the big concert promoters in the area. And we were talking about this one day a couple of years ago where guys our age, we went to shows without lasers and without all these light shows and without all these 15 dancers and all that. We went for the singing, the backup band. Wow, he's the lead singer and he plays guitar too. Listen to her backup singers, listen to her percussionists, how it adds to the song. My friend told me the kids today, one of you folks mentioned, it's the show now. It's almost like a Broadway show mentality. Like he said to me, listen, 3/4 of the kids that buy tickets for these artists, they don't care if they're lip syncing. I mean, they don't care if they don't, because they're going to see the show. Oh, wow. She's got 15 backup singers, right? And we went to hear the band and the singers. There was no digital screens. There was no smoke. There was no lasers, things exploding. But he said, he goes, our ticket buyers just want to see the person they consider like going to a show.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, times do change. I mean, still talent's still supposed to keep up. I mean, if you're good, you're good. If you're not good, you're not good. I mean, you can cover up some flaws. I mean, people say Janet Jackson really, she's a great entertainer.
Well, she's I looked it up. And Madonna, Janet Jackson, and those are pop queens. Beyonce. Yeah. So I just never thought of Whitney as
a pop singer.
A pop star.
Pop star, no.
She was broader than pop.
Yeah.
I won't say she's like bigger than pop, but she's broader. She's broader. Pop is a very narrow. I never thought of Madonna as a movie star.
But she played in a few films though.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, she wasn't. You don't think of Madonna as a movie star, or generally speaking, you think of Madonna as her music.
And the thing is, guys, that if Madonna, anytime she goes on tour, like you guys and I, we think, well, she's 60 something now, whatever. She goes on tour. At the drop of a hat, she'll sell out 20,000 seat arenas, like all over the country. So and if Whitney Houston was still with us, she'd be doing that too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look at the tickets at you and I were going to shows at what, $5, $6, $8, $10 a ticket. That was a big time. That was a big ticket. We were going up. Now look at the prices. Now look, $100, 125, 150, and these people all sell out.
Mm. Well, stand me if I'm wrong, but didn't I hear that Bruce Springsteen have tickets selling for $1,000? I mean, is that what certain tickets was they talking about?
The Boss.
He kind of got a bad rap for that. What happened was the basic tickets to his shows. I've seen him 3-4 times. Great live performer. They're basically from $70 to like $200. 70 will get you in up by the rafters. $200, $250 get you down by the stage, basically like a Broadway stage price. But because you're buying online now, I guess whoever was ever running his ticket selling operation is now using, I've been told from guys in the business, this artificial intelligence, right? This AI stuff that says, well, okay, you got a row of like 12 seats, 10 of them are gone, but we got 2 left here. So these programs will up the price, called dynamic pricing. There's a good, which means that, hey, look at how quickly this is selling out. Let's see if we can get people. It's almost like airline tickets, guys. How much you pay for this flight? Really? You got on here for $100? I paid $400. That's what some concert tickets are like now. And sports teams do that. They have different levels of pricing depending upon whether you got a first place team coming in or a cellar dweller. And if there are tickets remaining, they actually adjust the prices real time. How about that?
Yeah, well, technology.
So that's why those Springsteen tickets, some of those tickets were going crazy. Yeah.
So actually, did some of the tickets for $1,000 actually sold? Did people actually buy $1,000 tickets?
I would think, because his fans are crazy enough. I know people that have seen him 30, 40 times. Yeah.
Speaking of history, one last question about entertainment, then we'll jump into another topic.
Sure.
Wasn't Elvis Presley one of his last concerts planning for the Hartford Civic Center? I think it was, he was planning to come do a show at the Hartford Civic Center, I believe in 77.
I think it was the New Haven Coliseum.
Oh, New Haven.
I think. He had played his last show. There's actually a video of it online, I think. He played Indianapolis. And I believe he had a few days off. And I think the next show was at the Coliseum in New Haven. My cousin had tickets for it, and I think she still has the tickets. Yeah.
I just always wondered about that, but you saying this on New Haven, it wasn't the Hartford Civic Center.
I think it was New Haven. And by the way, guys, I would strongly recommend you seeing the Elvis movie if you haven't seen it. It's really good.
I heard it was phenomenal.
The recreation, Stan, of the Vegas shows. And you remember the 68 comeback special when he had the black leather on and he did it in that TV studio. I mean, I'm in there going, this is amazing how well they did that. It's really good.
Now, who's going to be starring as Elvis? Is it somebody starring as
oh boy, the guy's name escapes me. He was on a few Disney shows. You could look it up. His name escapes me, but he got the Elvis voice pretty well. He actually sings most of the songs, but for some of the songs, they blended his voice and Elvis. So there's no real lip syncing going on in the movie. He is, to some point or another, actually singing. But he's really good. Really good. It's a good movie, yeah.
Who plays the part of the Colonel? Because someone was talking about...
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, okay. They said he was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks is a real good actor.
Yeah.
He goes
but I mean, the way he played the Colonel and the Colonel, for people who were like in the music and know, but I've heard nothing but glowing response to the movie.
And the point of the movie, a lot of the point of the movie is the relationship between Colonel Tom Parker and Elvis. And Tom Parker was controlling of Elvis's family and Elvis. And, he was a real schemer. You could watch the movie, and you sit there and you're like, wow. Elvis never, here's a little spoiler. Well, maybe not. Elvis never played a show outside North America. Can you believe that? You know why? Tom Parker was an illegal alien.
Oh, he never wanted to leave the country.
He couldn't leave the country. Elvis had these offers to go to Japan, to play in it. Elvis Presley never played outside the U.S. or Canada, and people could never understand why.
Wow.
Now, was Elvis deaf, like what, for prescription, or did he have like some type of health problem? It's all like a mystery with Elvis Presley. What was the cause of his death? Was it something to do with prescription medication or something like that?
Well, he wasn't bad. I mean, he wasn't in great shape. He wasn't eating well, not sleeping well, and he got hooked. Remember the name? If you look it up, I think it's Dr. George Nicopolis, Dr. Nick, who, the inference in the movie is it was all uppers and downers to sleep, uppers to get up for the show, and injections before the show and stuff like that. So, your body can only take so much.
Yeah, and I say this in some ways to bring up because recently, we've seen what happened to Whitney Houston and Prince and even Michael Jackson with prescription overdose death. I think Whitney was like an accidental, but some drugs did play a role in her health. This is not actually new, though. Entertainers in some categories being hooked on prescription drugs. Do this go back a lot longer than even Elvis?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, you've got guys taking, heck, all of the big bands in the 30s and 40s where a lot of those guys smoked weed, like crazy to relax after shows. And then a lot of the jazz artists in the 50s and 60s leading into rock and roll, they were on, amphetamines, heroin and everything. Oh, it's been out there a long time. I mean, we think of it as a modern occurrence, but any music historian, especially a lot of jazz guys and gals, 50s and 60s, you would think of these hallowed names of jazz, but a lot of them were users.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Paul. I think we got a tendency, maybe because of social media and media today, that some of these things that's taking place is kind of new or just recently been started. But even if you look online and you check into mass killings, you can, I think, go back into the 40s when you had mass killings. Somebody would end up shooting up a community. I think there was an incident at a college in Texas in '66 that really drew a lot of attention. So even mass killings technically is not really that new if you sit back and take a look at it.
The internet makes people think everything is new. And John, that's a great point. The internet thinks everything is new. And I say on my show all the time, no, what did the internet, really come into 89, 90, 91, 92? I tell people there was history before that. Not stuff happened before we could log on, right?
Right.
It's right. I mean, you should read history, I tell people, or watch history. 3 words, the History Channel. It's good for you.
Well, again, I don't know if you even know this. You specialize in this because I think when you get into mass killings, there's some type of classification that they put the person in who ends up doing this. But let's say, for instance, if a person did a mass killing, which is on record as far back as the 40s or the 50s, how do you think the country responded? Do you think many people were just not aware because you didn't have really much of a media presence?
Bingo. I really do. I mean, guys, think about it. Even into the TV age, why are we so fractured now, right? Because when you and I were growing up for a good part of it, you had ABC, NBC, CBS, right? And you had 2 newspapers that really mattered, the Washington Post and the New York Times, like the Watergate era. We talk about that, right? So a lot of people, unless they were news junkies, they didn't know. Or, oh, yeah, that was too bad what happened in Texas. Yeah, whatever. If you're in the 50s or 60s. Now we get, bombarded with it. Yeah, right. Our phone, how many times do our phones buzz during the day, right?
Yeah.
So, John, I think you're right. I think a lot of people were just unaware of a lot of this stuff and found out about it maybe 2-3 days later, secondhand. I mean, remember in Vietnam, they would shoot film. The networks would go over there and shoot film, which had to be developed, which took a few hours, and then it had to go through censors, right? So some battle that happened on a Monday, it wouldn't make the nightly news maybe till a Wednesday here in the States. You had to fly that film to Germany, then it had to be satellite uplinked and down. Now, real-time war. Look at Ukraine. We got people on phones, showing us live versions of what's going on there.
Well, I just always wondered, I mean, even how did Congress respond? I mean, obviously, if you have a mass killing that took place, let's say 1947, 1955, was the leadership saying anything about it, or was it just an isolated incident? I think it's kind of puzzling to figure out, how did the government even respond to those type of incidents?
I don't know. That's a good question. Were there calls for gun control after that and not making guns available to certain people? I don't know. That's a very good question. That's a really good question. I don't know.
Well, certainly gun reform is a big hot topic of late, and even our U.S. Senator Chris Murphy has always been advocating gun reform policy. You have any opinions on gun reform legislation? Any changes you think is something that the country needs to move towards, or you think it's other factors that we need to be dealing with?
I say this, and I make sure people know this on my show. I'm not a gun owner. I've never owned a gun. I have never fired a live round of ammunition, although I have friends of mine that are advocates for gun ownership that go out and shoot on the weekends. They have what the media likes to call the assault weapon, which is a media-created term. My friends have, semi-automatic pistols. They have AR-15s. I think, guys, the problem with a lot of this, and it does seem like, though, this Texas mass shooting has finally loosened up things a little bit as far as gun control and gun laws. And I think most people are okay with expanded background checks and things like that. But what I get from my callers, a lot of whom are gun owners, and you guys probably hear this too, is that, hey, I'm a legal gun owner. I have all my papers in order. I lock my guns. I don't commit a crime. I'm not the problem. And I think when you see these mass shootings, as I say on my show, the one thing that almost always happens, guys, not always, but almost always happens, within 2 or 3 hours, what do we hear? We hear something like law enforcement officials in whatever city say they did have a prior encounter with the gunman, right? How often do we hear after a day or two? I usually tell my callers, listen, there's something else here. And sure enough, we found out about Texas. We found out about Parkland, Florida, where Nicholas Cruz's family and friends were pleading with the police to do something. We found out about the kid in Buffalo, that he was mutilating animals, right? That's a big red flag. You ask anybody who is in the field of, psychiatrics and criminality. So I guess the answer to your question for me, John, is, look, I think it's okay if we raise the age, for example, for long guns, for semi-automatics to 21. You can't buy a pistol, right, until you're 21. That's a federal nationwide law. I think what would help here, recognizing that legal gun owners are not the problem, they're just not, is to perhaps raise that age to 21 as well for buying, the semi-automatic weapons, the AR-10s, the AR-15s. Maybe if we just let 18 to 21-year-olds have a shotgun, which is a big cultural thing in a lot of the country, right? And the response I get from a lot of my callers is, well, they can have a gun in the military at 18. And I tell my callers, yeah, that's the military. It's different. The military is not society. That's why they have their own legal system too. So we can't compare giving some 18-year-old kid, out of a high school in Connecticut, an AR-15 or an AR-10, an actual automatic weapon, versus wanting him to go buy one at a gun shop around the state. So I guess the answer to your question, John, would be I'm okay with tightening things up. Let's make sure the background checks are good, and maybe let's raise that age to 21 if you're not in the military to buy a high-powered weapon.
Well, Stan, I want to get your opinion because I know you always have said that the gun is really not the problem, that there's I guess it's the person behind the gun that's the problem. You still feel 100% that the gun is not the problem, Stan?
Well, the gun isn't the problem. It's the person with the gun. The car could be the problem.
Yeah.
If people getting hit by cars all over the place. Wrong way drivers in Connecticut has been a huge problem.
All right.
We don't respond to that by making sure no one drives. We try to come up with reasonable solutions to help individuals who get on the highway in the wrong direction in the middle of the night. They're intoxicated, they may be high, they may be disoriented, turning into an intersection that seems where the roadway is one way or another. But no one thinks about banning cars from people. I think that the gun argument it's great political fodder. It's like the weather in Texas when you're in Connecticut. It gives you something to talk about. You don't have to worry about being right, because the weather in Texas doesn't affect us. Politicians this will never be, there's going to be back and forth. There are more guns in the country than there are people. So it makes for great political debate, but I don't believe that the gun is the problem. It's people that are the problem. And as Paul says, so where's the problem with legal gun owners? Folks who have never done anything wrong. The last thing on their mind would be to shoot somebody. And so you want to take away guns from the law abiding. And right now it's protected by the Constitution. Yet criminals, you don't even want to arrest.
Yeah.
There's this mixed political message. So, it's okay to not arrest people who are using guns in the commission of a crime because, quote unquote, they may be, stigmatized, traumatized from their youth, this, that, and the third. So we make all kinds of excuses. And so to me, it seems to be more of a political issue than a practical issue, because guns don't kill people. People kill people, and if they don't have a gun, they'll use a knife, poison, baseball bat.
Well, I think as a country, maybe we are trying in maybe somewhat the wrong way to get at the root of the problem. You might hear mental illnesses at times being a hot topic, how we need to address mental illness issues. It's only so much you could even do, though. I mean, if somebody snaps, premeditate things for a period of time, at some point he's just going to do what he's been planning to do.
People that snap, that the word snap means something, the connotation is that something went wrong. They became unbalanced. All right, you can't live your life based upon the potential of somebody snapping. Well, just stay home.
Right.
We'll deliver your food and your entertainment. Don't come out the house. Just be in self-assigned prison. In fact, why even get out to bed?
Right.
We'll live in a virtual world where we'll control everything you think and do.
Right.
Because someone could snap.
Right.
Someone could blow up a gas station while you're there. I mean, what are we going to do? Shut down all the gas stations because someone could walk up to a gas station and just cut the end off the hose and light it? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Well, the only thing I say about snap is there's nothing you can really do. I mean, you can deal if a person has a mental illness problems and he needs treatment, he's help. He needs some form of help. You could kind of work with that person if you got access to the person, if the person you can reach them. But for someone that you don't even know, and I'm not trying to say come a person of fear and don't function, but I'm just saying maybe as a country we can't do anything about somebody who we just don't know when he's gonna snap. I mean, he's just capable of doing anything. There might be warning signs. You could probably see some warning signs, but you just can't stop. There's no 100% guarantee.
There's no 100% guarantee. I think what you said is it gets close to the point.
Mm-hmm.
If we just look out for one another,
Mm-hmm.
care enough to care about somebody. If you see somebody looks under stress, have a conversation. Hey, buddy, you okay? This, that, and the third.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is what you stated. There isn't anything you can do.
Right.
You can't control other people's minds.
Right.
So you can adjust to what you see happening. But I think if we cared a little bit more about one another, and something you guys were talking about in terms of consumption of news. I was watching something some couple weeks ago. The guy was saying, once upon a time in America, we all got our news from very few sources, but also it was a shared experience across the country. Paul was talking about like news footage that came in from the war, and then everyone saw it,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone got the same basic analysis of it. And then you could talk to your friends about it around the cooler. You could talk to them at church, at the barbershop, at the beauty salon. And then you would hear more news about it. So there was this collective, common conversation across the country. Now with the internet, with all this siloed information and biased confirmation, you can find anyone that will agree with what you think. And we have people all over the place. They don't even know what's true.
Mm-hmm.
So they hear stuff. And like Paul said earlier, people don't even give time for stuff to process. They just took the boxes. They don't know what's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give it a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Calm down. Everybody. That's what I said last
Right.
week, guys. I had calls going crazy. Oh, the FBI truck. And I said, take a breath. Calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Calm down. Just go outside, have a cup of tea,
Right.
sit on the corner, watch people go by. The world is fine. There's about 10% of nuts on the right and 10% of nuts on the left. The other 80%, I think we generally get along.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Paul, I want to ask you a few questions about
Sure.
inflation and the recession. And then even after you are over, I'm going to ask Stan about the job market, but I could also ask you too about the job market. First of all, do you feel like you are self-employed, or do you feel like you still work for an employer?
Oh, I work for an employer. I do. I work for an employer. I work for my main employer. I have a side job. I work for that employer. So as far as Uncle Sam and the IRS, if you're listening, no, I am an employee. There have been gigs I have used in the past where I'm a contractor, like you fill out the 1099 form, they give that to you, and we paid you this X amount of money. So a lot of people in broadcast, some people do side jobs, and in other businesses too. You got to take care of your own taxes, but I'm definitely an employee.
Well, one of the reasons why I'm saying is because even before we came on the air, you said you come into the studio about 3 hours before your show actually gets started.
Yeah.
That just for you preparing to get yourself in the right zone. But you have to kind of be dedicated. You do a show for 4 hours, I believe. So even though it may be classified as part-time, you still kind of got to put in almost a full day's work. I mean, if you say you come in 3 hours before your show gets started.
Well, I'm classified. I am a full-time employee, so I am full-time. But in radio, a full-time employee is never on 8 hours a day. That is just, the longest talk shows out there are 5 hours.
5 hours.
I don't do 5, I do 4. So, my situation and other full-time people and all kinds of radio, if your air shift is 3, 4, or 5 hours, you're paid for 8 hours because you are sitting there doing commercial production, you're talking to clients, you may be just reading. It's called show prep in this business. It is there's nobody in radio that works 8 straight hours on the air because you'd pass out.
You pass out.
Yeah.
So the 4 hours could almost be like 8 hours if you really do what you have to go through. It may feel like because you don't take the breaks. Like if you have an 8-hour work shift, you get a half an hour lunch break, another 15-minute breaks. You can break. So you got to kind of be on your zone and on your game for 4 hours. Yeah,
and understand too that I do a 4-hour show, but there's 7 minutes of news at the top of each hour. There's 3 minutes of news at the bottom of each hour. We do traffic and weather together, mornings and afternoons on the 6s. So at 06, 16, 26, 36, 46, and 56, there's another 2-minute break there, plus commercials. So actually, guys, I actually figured this out. In a 4-hour show, I'm talking for about 2 hours and 40 minutes or so, given a break. So yeah, I can sit back and take a breath about every 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay, well that's deserved, I would say, to do that. You've been hearing late that the U.S. economy or the U.S. country is headed towards a recession.
Yeah.
Is this contributed towards inflation or just some other factors where the country is headed at?
Well, listen, I've had economists on my show of all ilk, some partisan, some nonpartisan, some just that work at a university level. The reason for the inflation most people point to are, one, high prices on items that can be traced back to fuel costs because of the Ukraine war, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. The other thing is, we had this influx of cash. The first round was with Mr. Trump, and then Mr. Biden with the stimulus packages and whatever. And when you introduce too much money into a capitalist system, everything overheats because everybody's got their money. Some people will pay bills with it or save it, but our instinct as human beings is to go out and spend that. So it's almost like, I like to say, remember guys when we used charcoal grills? And they'd say, put the lighter fluid on first and then back up. Don't squirt the lighter fluid on the fire because it'll blow back right into the can. Right. That's kind of what we have now. We have all this money out there that's just overheating the economy. Everybody that I've talked to has said probably early to mid next year, maybe things will be back to normal by mid 2023. Because once you rev this up, it's awful hard to slow it down. And the whole unemployment thing, unemployment's really low. It's at 3 point something percent, which is why the White House doesn't like to use the word inflation. Because technically, recession. Recession. Because technically it is a recession. When there's economic contraction for 2 quarters in a row, that's a recession. But the pushback has been, but look at all the other numbers. So, I guess, what's the old thing, guys? You probably heard this. You get 10 economists in a room, you get 10 different answers to one question. So that's probably where we are.
Well, let me ask you a question. I mean, I guess the inflation is a major problem in many different areas, but would you rather have a scenario that we have now where, let's say, the job market is wide open, the availability of jobs is wide open, wages because of the desperate need of employers looking for employees has gone up in some areas where it never was the case. And even though the prices are high, would you rather be in a situation where you can get good jobs easier today than you had in the past? The job availability is there. Or would you rather have a case where we have no inflation or low inflation and, let's say, have a high unemployment problem?
I'd in a half second go for the low unemployment, the glut of jobs. Because as you say, that in itself does cause a little inflation because you have to pay workers more to get them. And I've heard that from economists on my show and local, business organizations. I would take that in a heartbeat over not enough jobs. I mean, that's not good. And you know what? If stuff is too expensive, we can learn to cut back. I mean, we can forego that $8 latte, or maybe we just don't take that vacation this year. We want when we want it, and that's a problem.
But what about, Paul, let's say the housing? You really have to have a place to
Oh.
live. I mean, I know you can be selective and say you can't afford a $1,500 a month
Yeah.
apartment, but it is a very tight housing market.
Oh
though.
my
That is-
God. Yeah. And I say all the time, guys, whether it's Bridgeport, Hartford, New Haven, Waterbury, you get all these new apartment developments there. Oh, really nice. Look at this. Young people are going to want to stay. Self-contained building, luxury stuff, swimming pool, health club. Okay. Do you see what the rents are?
Mhm.
That's the problem. You look at some of these luxury buildings in the cities, and I've said that on my show for years. Yeah, we want young people to stay, but there's a barrier there of moving people from the lower economic scale up in the middle class. Maybe people who love to live in Hartford or New Haven or Bridgeport, but they don't want to live in certain sections. But if you can't afford the rent, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
What do you do?
Well, I mean, is there any justification? I guess there's a supply and demand theory that if you have more people needing a particular product, then that gives the owner the leverage to keep the price up at a certain high rate. But I guess in the housing market, like anything else, there's no sympathy. I mean, we just
Like tickets to the boss.
Yeah.
yeah, but you don't
whatever
have
the
to go.
market is.
Yeah, but that you don't have to really go to the show. I think housing is like you need a place.
I think people need a place, but at the
to
end of
live.
the day,
Yeah,
the fact that people need a place means that there's more people that need this apartment
right.
than there are apartments.
Apartments.
So if you have a need and can pay for it,
Right.
that's to me the only justification. If you can't get the money for the rent, then the rent won't be that high.
It won't be that high.
Well, Stan, what's that old phrase? I think it goes something like the value of something or the cost of something or the value is whatever someone's willing to pay for it.
That's
Right.
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 That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
that $3,000 apartment could be $5,000 next year if the landlord goes, hey, I got a waiting list a year and a half for this place.
Right.
The situation in New York,
Oh,
I was
my son
watching the
lives
thing that people are being they're raising rents, and people they have to move.
Oh.
They've been there, but they're because all the people that left New York,
Yeah.
they're all coming back now.
Yeah.
And so now, excuse me, now you've got land. They can charge whatever the market will bear, and there's plenty of people willing to pay. And at the end of your lease, they raise the rent, and it's horrible. But
My son lives on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. He and his roommate are paying. Now they have a 2-bedroom place. It's not bad. It's tight. They're on just above Hell's Kitchen, and he's on 83rd Street on the Upper West Side. And they got a deal because they signed their lease during the pandemic. So with a few $100 a month off, he's paying $3,800 a month for 2 bedrooms.
With 2 bedrooms.
Did you guys see the story last week that the number one, the most expensive housing market is now Jersey City, New Jersey? Did you see that?
wow,
No, I didn't see
Because
that.
Manhattan is so expensive that they're hopping the water. And because so many people have hopped the water, you see all these new high rises in Jersey City, which a few years ago, let's face it, you know, home of Kool and the Gang, by the way, you folks out there, Jersey
Okay.
City. It was not a good place. Now it's Jersey City 2 bedrooms. Guys are going for $5,000 a month.
Boy.
Must be nice. Huh?
Yeah, but I mean, where's this pushing the country at though with the housing
Yeah.
market? I mean, is this going to hurt the country long term, or is this just going to be another factor of the economy? Just
Haves and have-nots.
Haves and have-nots.
Haves and have-nots. Yeah.
to do that, right?
Yeah.
Well, that is something to definitely keep your eye on. You know, the housing
Yeah.
trends. I mean, that is a big factor, just like the job market and many other different factors. Where do you see this governor's race in Connecticut going with Governor Ned Lamont and Republican candidate Bob Stefanowski?
I give Mr. Stefanowski a chance. With all due respect to him, I don't think he's going to win. But you know, as a friend of mine said, who's very perceptive in this stuff, he said, "Look, the state's running in the black. You know, it is COVID money, but they're running in the black. Anybody can get a job if they want one. And housing prices, values are skyrocketing. So it's going to be very hard to beat Ned Lamont." It was interesting that Mr. Stefanowski has brought on Patrick Sasser from the No Tolls movement, who was successful in getting toll stopped. Pat Sasser is now the governor's campaign manager. So we'll see what happens there. I'm sorry, Mr. Stefanowski's manager. Yeah.
Well, it's getting very close to November. It seems like it's going to be a head-to-head race. I think, like you mentioned earlier, the odds on favorite would be Governor Ned Lamont. You never know. Anything is possible. One last question, or one last few questions. Where do you see the mistakes maybe that Republican candidate Bob Stefanowski could be making to make his chances of winning more harder? Do you see anything that he might not be doing that you think a candidate at his level should be doing?
I think you see by the hiring of Patrick Sasser, or the elevating of him. Pat said that he's actually been with the campaign since August 1st. I think that tells you that there's a realization in the Stefanowski campaign that they have to punch back a little harder on Ned Lamont. Look, the governor's campaign, all the Democrats in the state have said, well, look at Bob Stefanowski. He loves Trump, and they're showing him with Trump on television all the time. And you never know with abortion. You just never know. Now that's ridiculous. Connecticut's a blue state. Abortion isn't going anywhere, and we have some of the tightest gun laws in the state. So I think it's been a mistake for Mr. Stefanowski's campaign so far. I think they're going to change that now with Pat Sasser up front, not to punch back harder and say, look, come on. Abortion is not going anywhere in this state. Gun laws, this is going to become Texas or Oklahoma with gun laws. So let's talk about real issues, like why is Connecticut number 39 in the country, according to CNBC, in appeal to business? So, why don't we ever get any cut in the income tax or in the sales tax? So I think, and I've been saying that for a couple of weeks on my show. I'm calling it so far, with all due respect to the candidates, it's a junk food campaign so far. Abortion isn't going anywhere. Unions aren't going anywhere. We're not going to become Texas. Let's talk about some real issues. So I want to see that happen in the next 3 months. And I think it will. It's going to turn into a good bar fight. And it should.
Well, let me give my last opinion on this. I mean, I think the mistake Bob Stefanowski is making is he's not really going out of his way to address the cities, because I think that's where he's going to lose the election at, just like he lost the last time. It may be other areas in the state that he lost to, but I think if he can't win the cities, and then realistically, if you know that you're not going to win the cities, you can't put 100% of your time in the cities. But would it be fair to say that he's going to lose Hartford, he's going to lose New Haven, he's going to lose Bridgeport, he may win Waterbury, which is the closest chance, but will he have to win another urban city like Bridgeport, New Haven, or Hartford to win the election, or can he win the election as governor without winning another urban city?
I know people inside the party and campaign strategists have said this. No Republican in this day and age is going to win Waterbury, Hartford, New Haven. Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport. You just got to get a bigger piece of the pie, right? You got to say, listen, the Democrats are all going to, they're going to win the big cities, with the exception maybe of Waterbury, John, like you said. But I think what the Republican strategy is now, and Stefanowski's been to the cities numerous times, dozens of appearances, but the idea is lose it by a smaller margin. So if we can get a chunk of votes more in New London and Waterbury and Hartford and Danbury and Bridgeport and New Haven, maybe that makes up for the 44,000 votes that he lost by last time. So we're going to lose, but lose by a little less, and maybe you make up that gap.
And even to you, Stan, I know we were supposed to end this segment, but is Bob Stefanowski coming across that he's even telling the urban voters what they want to hear, regardless of whether he's going to deliver or not? Do you get a sense that maybe he's not even saying what you would want a candidate to tell you when he's running for office, if that means anything, if that make any sense?
I think I understand what you're alluding to. I think, like Paul said, it'll heat up. The primary was tomorrow will be a week ago.
Right.
And so the real race is now just beginning. We got like 90 days, 80 some odd days, and it'll get more. The things will start. The debates will be on television. There'll be a couple of radio debates. People will be more engaged, and then we will see. I don't know that you want a candidate that's going to tell you what you want to hear. I want to hear where they are on the issues. I agree, Paul. It's a garbage fest. They're not talking about anything. This is silly. Mm-hmm. It's silly. Both of them need to step up to the plate and start talking about substantive issues. But I don't think they've really had a chance yet. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When they get, in a debate, that's where I think you'll start seeing this. And then when they make those comments, people will make comments and ask questions relative to what they were talking about. But right now, no one's talking about anything. They're talking about stuff that doesn't matter.
Substance matters, yes.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like
Mm-hmm. I love the line. Hey guys, I love the line. Well, we balanced the budget. Well, aren't you supposed to balance the budget?
Right.
Congratulations for doing your job.
There you go.
Yes.
I came to work this week.
Yeah.
You're supposed to come to work.
Yeah, you want a bonus?
Right. Do that. Well, Paul, it was a pleasure having you on this morning. It was a lot of fun. Didn't even seem like it was much of a challenge because you was able to, I guess, answer just about every question that I was able to throw at you and commentaries as well. But if you have any last words you would like to end the program on, feel free to do so.
Well, gentlemen, thank you. Thanks to all the folks behind the channel here and you gentlemen for having me on. It's been great, but I guess playing on our last topic, folks, pay attention. I don't care who you vote for, Democrat, Republican, left, right, pay attention and expect our leaders to, not bask as Stan just said, not bask in the fact that you came to work. Move the ball forward, move the ball down the field. And just pay attention and get out and vote. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. Vote.
Again, that's a good way, a good positive way. You also ended last year's segment with a good positive ending. I remember, and I did look at the program again last night. So
what did I say?
You said something about getting involved, that your local community really matters. That's where you really make your difference at. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you just put another good positive reminder just to go out there and vote and do more than just voting too, but that's a good start, obviously, to get the ball rolling and moving in the right direction. So again, you brought a lot of good fun level of information this morning. I appreciate you being available under short notice, might I add too, so I give
no
you
problem
a little extra credit for that as well. And I look forward to running across you in the very near future.
Yes. Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You take care.
Thanks a lot. All right, my friends. Paul Pacelli.
Mm-hmm. He was on the program last year, if people remember.
Good man.
Fun show. Different show. Versatile, like I mentioned. Didn't have to really come up with just one topic. Through a lot of different dialogues out there. And it feels good to interview a host, too. Interview a guest, I should say, not a host.
There's Bob
Stefanowski.
Yeah, that's from the parade. He was in the parade.
Yeah.
And of course, the Gov.
Yeah, that's good showmanship.
So you have there's our city councilwoman, the governor, vice governor, the lieutenant governor,
the Susan
and of course you had Bob Stefanowski. So they were both in the parade, waving, and they were in the beginning of the parade. So this is standard fare for political season. The candidates marching in parades and things like that.
Well, I got to tell you, Stan, maybe you're handling it differently towards getting Governor Ned Lamont and Bob Stefanowski on the network. I also reached out to Bob Stefanowski since the last time we brought this topic up. I'm still getting the same ignored. It's one thing to, up front say I'm not going to be available, I'm not going to be able to come on your program, but to actually continue to be ignored.
Now, when you say ignored,
Well, he's not responding back to the emails.
Email may not be the best way to reach him.
It may not be. Okay. He did respond back last year or towards the beginning of the year towards some of the emails. So you're right. It may not be the best way.
Not particularly now.
For a campaign. I agree with that.
Right. So I mean, I wouldn't say
I'm being ignored. That's not.
I wouldn't say you're being ignored. You may not be. No one may be seeing your message.
Seeing your messages, right. You have to really go through his campaign department when you're trying to.
You need to talk to a human being.
Talk to a human being, right.
If you're trying to book somebody.
Right.
I mean,
You're right.
I've literally, not one time, not 2 times, but 3 times. It was a very, very good friend of mine. Gone to New York City for a shoot that began at 11 o'clock at night, and get there and there's nobody there.
Right.
Well, didn't you get my email? What'd you read?
Yeah.
So the dude sent an email to the guy saying, well, we can't do this tonight. He never got the email.
That's true.
So, I mean, so then we went down there a second time, same thing, 3 times. So, you don't communicate that you're going to cancel something of monumental proportion with an email.
Right.
And it's likewise, I don't think you reach out by email because you're trusting that the person's going to see it.
Exactly. Well, you know me, Stan, even communicating with you this past week, I kept up following up. So, yeah, at some point, I will follow up. I need to speak to
Although
someone.
You didn't talk to me.
No.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
Because from Thursday until Sunday evening, I wasn't checking nobody's email or text messages because I've been in pre-production.
Right.
So once I'm in production mode, I don't look at email.
Right.
That's like the worst way to reach me. Text messages, I might look at them, but I get so many text messages, I get so many emails. I don't pay attention to them. I go through them at the end of the day. Email to me is like mail. And so,
yeah, usually the process
call
you, and I was definitely going to do that at some point, and which was yesterday.
Yeah, because you usually hit me up Wednesday, Thursday.
Exactly.
But I didn't see anything until Sunday.
But that's because I didn't have a guest Wednesday. Usually I have a guest before the end of the week. I did not have a guest until Saturday, and me and Paul didn't even technically speak, but I heard back from him. So again, if I don't hear back from you,
if it works for you, that's cool.
Yeah, it works for you. Okay, well again, I'm not going to push this beyond the way I've been doing it. I feel if Bob Stefanowski, he knows about the network, as we talked before. I believe you talked to him or you saw him at some point. And he may be busy. I mean, truthfully, people are busy. He's running a governor's race. He's limited on time.
And he might genuinely be uncomfortable.
That could be true.
Would you be uncomfortable walking around in Martha's Vineyard?
I would be a little bit uncomfortable.
Out on the yacht, the little boat shoes and sitting around. Right. I mean, people are uncomfortable around people that they're not familiar
with. Exactly.
Right. Would you feel uncomfortable at an Indian powwow? I think most people would. So, because you don't know anything about where you are. You feel out of place and uncomfortable. And I think oftentimes we expect people to have a comfort level that we have with our own group. We wouldn't feel that way if we were there. So
yeah. Well, again, I mean, if he feels uncomfortable or he just doesn't want to do it, that could be another thing.
And then on audience size, I mean, we gotta be honest. If you're going to spend your time, you can spend 2 hours somewhere. You got to make them count.
Right. Well, we'll see how it go.
We'll see.
We'll see how it go and everything. So, as long as the message, but again, I will, try to speak to someone directly. And I think like you said, you still have to go through a campaign process when you're trying to book a candidate that's running for governor or any elected office position now. It's not like if he was not running for office, then it would just I could go directly through him.
It would be different.
But he's running for office.
Right. Now every word counts. Every nuance counts. Every smile at the wrong moment counts. Every laugh at the wrong question counts.
Right.
What seems to be insignificant can become national news in 5 minutes.
Yes.
So you have to be very mindful. I'm not making excuses for anybody, but
right. Well, earlier I asked Paul about, is he self-employed or does he work for an employer? So he clearly works for an employer, even though he comes in, like you mentioned, 3 hours before the show gets started. And do you like the approach of being self-employed, Stan, or do you like working for an employer? I mean, how do you view, when you as a freelance videographer, do you feel like you are self-employed working for yourself, or are you working for your client?
I am self-employed, and I have clients who use my services.
The reason why I'm bringing this up,
but I'm self-employed.
You're self-employed, yeah.
Like if you hire a plumber, he's not your employee. Or someone to cut your lawn, they're not your employee.
Right.
They're right.
Right.
You don't send in their Social Security and hire them and pay their
Yeah.
They're employed.
Right.
And they come and they do a service for you. Services are goods,
Well, truthfully, I got to be honest. I am moving this towards a hot topic that I want to get your feedback towards. And speaking to the friend of the family up in Boston, he told me he doesn't like the fact of being someone controlling his geographical location, that a job controls where you're going to be at. And even the vending machine business that me and him was talking about since last week.
Jonathan on his vending machine.
Right. He doesn't like that neither, because you got to be at.
You're owned by your vending machine.
You're owned by your vending machine.
Right.
So, but I'm telling him, he does day trading where he can do this anywhere.
He can live anywhere in the world.
He can live anywhere in the world. And he likes that. But I was trying to talk to him and saying, and he does admit this, that you gotta have you have to be a unique person or unique criteria to be able to work the way it's like,
to do the work he does, you have to be a unique person, because
right.
You have to be disciplined and you have to be focused and you have to be extremely informed in what it is you're doing. But it's not unlike other lines of work.
Right.
But his line of work is a unique line of work that many people, while a lot of people may be involved in the work, extremely few people do that type of work.
Right.
So he can command a very lucrative salary. So he can live any lifestyle he wants.
Right.
As long as he's successful. And he seems to be very successful.
Right. I mean, I don't know dollars or cents what he's making, but he just claims that he's doing what he's doing, and this is the path that he wants to continue.
God bless him.
But it gets into another factor of the workforce, because you're hearing so many factors that people can work remote, work out of your house. And you was even mentioning this earlier a couple years ago during the pandemic, that once the economy gets back to normal, that you're still going to find a lot of businesses and companies not operating with a full staff, like downtown, a lot of the office buildings. And
it's never going back.
It's never going back.
Not the way it was. I said that at the beginning. As you remember, I said that then. Because it was always going there. Right. The pandemic just gave many companies the opportunity to push the button on where their long-term plan was anyway. Because as a lot of people were retiring, they weren't being replaced. Technology has replaced them. You don't need the number of people you used to need.
But don't the majority of the workforce, the way the economy is set up, you still have to be at a building, even though things have changed?
It depends.
Depends.
If you're like Pratt & Whitney putting together engines, or any highly skilled work that requires menial labor, where you have to use your hands, you have to lift something, and it has to be done by human beings, then you have to be on site.
Mm-hmm.
But there are plenty of jobs that you can do from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to a place and sit in an office and do work, you could do that from home.
From home. So the office
is an old-fashioned construct, and the people who like to go into the office like to do so for a whole myriad of reasons. But most of those reasons have nothing to do with executing the work. If you have a collaborative work environment where you feed off of each other's ideas and energies, that's better done in person than remotely, because you can move quickly. And so if the tools you need are at that facility, then it works well. There are some things where you should absolutely come together and be with other people, but those jobs have always been those jobs. You can't do everything from home, but there's a whole lot of work clearly in downtown offices that don't need to be done in a downtown office. Otherwise, they would still be doing them in a downtown. You don't need them.
Like in the pandemic, just pushed a process that was moving in a direction a lot faster.
A lot of companies were retaining staff simply because those people needed jobs. They didn't need the people. The people needed them. And so, what's the big deal? Companies making money. The people are useful. Services are being provided. And we let them retire. 5 years, 10 years, this will all be done. But when the pandemic came and they forced a shutdown, well, we've been there's a move we've been wanting to make for some time. There was no justification for mass layoffs across the country with white collar workers and office workers. How are you going to justify that? What are you going to say? It'll be a public relations nightmare. So, you take the advantage that was provided by the global health issue.
Right. Well, this whole theory of working for yourself or working for an employer, I know you may not, let's say, accept this, but I think you would have to understand it a little bit. Some people just can't work for someone else. I mean, I've talked to legitimate people that's a business.
I don't work well for other people.
For other people.
I work well for clients. I will never have a job where I have a boss. I haven't had a job where I had a boss. Pratt & Whitney was the last job I had where I had a boss.
A boss. You were the boss at the Hartford Public Access
Yes.
Station. So that's just normal. Then some people just can't work for a boss.
I mean, I could work. It's not like I can't work for a boss. But I don't need to work for someone right now. So I don't.
Right.
I'm not going to work for nobody else. I'm not going to be an employee of anybody.
But that's not quite.
And I was an employee of the station. I was just in charge, but I had a boss. I had a board of directors. They fired me.
Right.
If you could be fired, then you're not in charge.
But they wasn't on site where they can tell you constantly, go here, do this, do that, and all of that. Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying when you get a supervisor or a boss.
Right.
And
making executive decisions.
Exactly.
Right. Everyone is not prepared or ready or capable of making executive decisions. But some people just don't have good work ethics, so they can't hold a job because they're not good employees.
Right. So that's not the same.
That's not the same thing as someone can't work for somebody. They don't work.
Period. Right. So we got to separate
you got to separate those folks.
The two.
Right.
Because we always, at least I'm always trying to speculate why things turn out the way they turn out. I mean, we was talking last week about the underground economy and
like drug dealers.
Yeah, they can't work.
They can. They choose not to.
They choose not. So
they choose
can
to sell drugs.
No, but I mean, they can work. Like, if you was to make a transition as a vending machine owner, could they make that same transition? They're not selling drugs. They're not working for, let's say, an employer, but they're working kind of for themselves, and they're selling products in a vending machine. Is that kind of where they could work for? If you don't want to take orders from someone, you can't deal with someone telling you what to do, being on your back. But
I think that's a personality trait of an individual. I wouldn't say by default and by nature that drug dealers are that person. Drug dealers are all kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you have your stereotypical corner dudes.
Yeah.
But those are not the only drug dealers.
Well, that's kind of
drug dealers go to corporate. I mean, drug dealers are all kinds of people,
and they have jobs. Some will have jobs. They use a job at the front.
Right. So when you say drug dealer, I don't, you don't want to give the drug dealer a bad.
But I'm just saying anybody in general who wants to be a productive citizen, but they don't like the fact of having a supervisor.
Then they need to
work for themselves. I'm saying, wouldn't that be the best option?
No,
it wouldn't.
No. I don't know. I don't know how to have I can absolutely have the conversation, but I don't know how to have the discussion as someone who has had employees. To me, the notion is nonsensical because you either gonna bring your behind here and work, or you can stay home. I process work that way. Anyone that's ever been in my employ, not volunteering, but employ, I write it out on a blackboard. This is a real simple formula. The only reason you're here is because you're doing something I can't do. So I'm hiring you to do work.
Yeah, but I don't know if you quite understand what I'm asking you. Like, okay, I
understand.
You understand? Okay.
The person you're talking about doesn't want to work.
No, he doesn't want to work for someone else.
No, he doesn't want to work. If he needs to eat and all this machination about he don't have the temperament to be under anyone employed, but he's on him. So what's he doing? He's selling drugs? That doesn't make sense.
Well, no, I'm not talking so much about the drug deal now, because I know someone recently, he's going to be working for a landscaping company. So he has to work about 12 hours, or he's going to be on the clock for 12 hours.
All right.
But what I'm saying is you could have one person like him, because he has to work for a company. So he's going to be driving a company's vehicle. He's going to be working for a company's clock.
So what's the problem?
The point, it's not a problem. The point is you may have another person who likes to do landscaping, but he wants to work for himself.
So he starts his own landscaping.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But again, he doesn't want to work for an employer doing the same type of work, but he wants to work. So he wants to work for himself.
That's cool.
So that's my whole point. Everybody may not want to work for an employer.
That's a given, Jonathan.
Okay, that's what I want to get an answer from. You brought up the drug. I'm not bringing up the drug deal. I'm bringing up a legitimate person who's going to be working for a landscaping company.
Those would be entrepreneurs or someone who wants to be self-employed.
Right.
I thought we were all settled on that.
Yeah, we was, and then you kind of mixed something else about the person just doesn't want to work. But you thought I was talking about a drug dealer, which I wasn't. And then I was like, okay, so just because you don't want to work for an employer doesn't mean that you doesn't want to work. You just don't want to work for. You want to be an entrepreneur. I guess that's the best way. But maybe everybody can't be an entrepreneur. There's things you got to be having.
Well, Jonathan, this is where the confusion is coming. Anyone that wants to work for themselves can. There's no debate there. There's no controversy there. If you want to work for yourself, you want to work for yourself. It doesn't matter the why. You want to work for yourself.
Right. But is that like
the problem seems to be the person that can't work for someone else but doesn't have the capacity to work for themselves. That's the person that you keep introducing in the conversation. And that's the person I'm addressing.
Okay.
Right. The guy who doesn't want to work for someone else, but he can't quite work for himself either.
Well, I will tell you, in most businesses, you have to be real organized, and you have to have like insurance. So, there's different levels of self-employed entrepreneurs. There's the guy who has a lawnmower who can just go from one house to another house, cutting grass. There's another guy who has a truck, who has a crew of people that he has to pay them, and he has clients that he has to go all over. So you can say everybody has the capability to become an entrepreneur, but to get yourself started, you have to get the equipment, you have to get the insurance, you have to pay certain different taxes, comparable to the guy that's just a guy going from one house to another house. He's not paying any taxes. So there's different levels of how you work for yourself.
All right. And
everybody, just like everybody is not going to be able to go into business for different reasons, doesn't mean that the opportunity may be there for you in a free capitalistic society that you can become a business owner, but everybody may not be equipped with the resources or whatever to open up a business. Even something as simple as a landscaping business is that you can say anybody can buy a truck, anybody can buy lawnmowers or leaf blowers or whatever. You'll be surprised that many people may not even have the money to even get started at that level for whatever reason.
But Jonathan, many people don't have money. All of these things take time.
Mm-hmm.
They take time.
Right.
You may not have the money to buy a leaf blower, but you could save the money.
All right.
And you buy a leaf blower and you start your business off.
So there's no excuses.
Right. There may be reasons and excuses, but drive and determination supersede those.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that can read, comprehend, can become a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take many, many years. It's going to take study. It's going to take sacrifices. But most human beings have the intellectual capacity to master that work.
Mm-hmm.
The smart ones will be able to do it in a short amount of time. And the ones that aren't so smart, it just takes longer.
All right.
But it doesn't mean it can't be done. You're going to start a business. There's certain things you need. Self-insurance, liability insurance, different things like that. You may not know what they are.
Right.
But if you want to start a business, you'll learn.
Right.
You want to build a house. You never built a house before. So you buy some blueprints. Oh, I built this wrong. I cut this wrong. I cut the wood wrong. I go buy more wood. Now you learn how to measure. Anything can be done, but there's a learning process.
Mm.
Now, some people don't want to go through the process. They want it like the Matrix or some mess. You plug in and unplug, and now you know how to do something.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how life works. It takes time.
I think you said some key factors: the drive and the passion or the discipline you have to have. Because if something doesn't work out, do you get despondent and give up, or do you try to get back and learn from it and move forward? I think that's kind of what you was.
A lot of people will get despondent and will give up, but those people I have found, it's been as an observer of things, the people who give up and get despondent and don't want to go back to work don't need to go to work because they have a safety net of some kind where they can survive without working. So they don't.
Well, that's part of it.
Because drive can be a desire, an innate desire, a conjured up desire, whatever, to do something.
Yeah.
There are other drives, like needing to eat.
Right.
A place to sleep.
Right.
Those who are totally despondent, have no drive whatsoever, live under the bridge.
I was just going to say that because you got people who just give up and they, like you said, become homeless.
They fall between the cracks.
Cracks, right. Right.
And they're off the grid, fall between the cracks. They live in the woods. They live by themselves. Hermits, going from town to town, living in boxcars, under bridges. They go from one place to the next. It's not a nice place to live. It's not a nice place to be. But for some people, that's where they wind up. And some folks that are endeared to individuals who are captured by that lifestyle try to add help. There's missions, there's shelters, there's all kinds of a network to help people like that. And still people fall through. Human beings have the capacity to manage and direct their own affairs. Some are better at it than others. But most people, particularly that live in the United States, have the opportunities to move forward if they desire. And there's a certain amount of responsibility on the individual to man up.
Right.
Or girl up. Or boy up or woman up.
Right.
You got to do your part. Everybody can't be dragged along through life.
Right. Well, again, the family, Mr. Knight up in Boston, he like I say, both of y'all are always on the same page in just about every different belief. So he agrees with that. And he also stated that he started off as an employee. He saved up money, and he still would recommend that to many different people. Just don't jump into thinking that you could become your own boss, or, you know, what he's doing with day trading in the stock market. I mean, he had to learn that craft.
Yeah, something you got to really learn. Right.
But and if he likes the fact that he can not be tied down to a geographical location or whatever, but I do understand what you're saying. There's some people who just don't want to do anything. They don't want to work for an employer. And if they can't get their business or whatever gig that they're trying to get off the ground, if they can't do it the way that they want to do it, then they're not even willing to do that too. So I agree with what you're saying. You got to do something to be productive and function while you're here, to put a roof over your head and pay bills. Some people would say that's all that we're here for, just to pay bills and, you know, work for someone else. That's maybe a whole nother story. But I think the basic is you want to be self-reliant and not be dependent. And the end of the day, excuses are not going to really matter. I mean, they may matter in some areas of life, but if you can, like you've always stated, we can make up many different reasons why things can't happen or why they're not going to happen. That's real easy to do. A little bit more of a challenge to figure out why something can happen. You know, legitimately, Stan, you made it perfectly clear. You don't want to turn this into an outright business where you have a staff of employees. That's not what your calling is for.
No.
It's not. Okay.
I'm not interested in hiring people.
Yeah.
And having them come to work.
Right.
And having them have family problems and issues, and they can't make it today because something came up, and this, that, and the third, and they were on their way to work, but the tire blew out. That's the reason they're coming to work. Because I need them to do something.
Right.
We have commitments. That's why we hired them. Now, someone else has to do whatever it was they were supposed to do. And that someone is me.
Right.
And I always told employees, the day I have to do your job is the day I don't need you.
Right.
And it won't be your fault because I hired you. Here I have you working, and I don't even need you.
Yeah.
I could do this. Why? Thank you for letting me know.
Well, the only thing I will say about the workforce is you need to know what you're getting yourself into. If you're going to apply for a job or start a business, you need to know about the job, about the company, because sometimes you might go by the job description, and that may not be enough. There's more to it than sometimes what they're going to describe. I mean, they're going to describe the majority.
I think you find that out when you get on the job. Every job ain't for everybody, but everybody generally needs the job. So you go to work, you do the best you can, you learn on the job. No one knows all the details of a job until they get there.
You're right.
You know, that's why you have like 90-day probation period. And everyone, the employer doesn't know if you're going to work out. And, you know, people who are in positions where they have to hire someone or have a staff, it takes them a while to get used to having someone that reports to them. And then little employee quits and finds another job. They got to start the process all over again. You know, most people that are employees have never worked as an employer. They've never had to go through dealing with people who all you really want is someone who can do the job. That's, you know, but there's more to it. So you have to manage people. People have issues and problems that comes with the territory. And you have to be able to work with folks and be understanding, things along that line. So where's the line between, you know, empowering and enabling? And you know, are you enabling this person to be in the state that they're in, or are you empowering them? The person that comes just to learn what it is you do so they can quit and start their own thing. I've seen those things kind of happen. All these kinds of things. And so as the employer or as the entrepreneur that's bringing on staff, these are all things you also have to worry about. You'll learn them along the way. Just like you learn how the best practices, policies, and procedures of driving a truck. You know, anyone can go learn how to drive a truck. You know, go to school, you get a little scholarship, or you save up money, or you pay on time, and pay overtime. You learn how to drive a truck, then you have to learn the rules of the road. Then there's other people that drive. You got to have insurance. You got a maintenance program for your tires. You know, these are things you gain as you grow into the job. That's I don't care what the work is.
Right.
That's just part of the process.
Right. Well, you know, don't get me wrong, Stan. I think sometimes our leadership is looking for answers when we're trying to help the youth get off career development and get started. And truthfully, like the example I made between the landscaping person, you know, given a choice, you know, if you can work for a company, there's benefits of working for a company more than it might be benefits of you working for yourself. You may be covered with health insurance for the employer. You may have other insurances that you might workman's comp if you get hurt on the job. If you work for yourself, you get hurt on the job, you got to come out of your own pocket for hospitalization. So there's always going to be a balance between the two. Why you would be better off working for a company or working for yourself. Working for yourself, you gain all the profits. You don't have, you pay off your overhead, but the amount of money that you're generating, you may see after a while, if I'm working for this landscaping company and they're going to pay the young guy $18 an hour, he may realize how much he could be making doing the same type of work himself. So after a while,
if he owns the company.
Yeah,
but then he has all the overhead too. He's got to pay for the equipment. He's got to pay for gas. He's got to pay for new blades on the lawnmower. He got to pay for tires on the lawnmower. If he's got someone helping him, the person might be reckless, damage his little vehicle. Now you got to get that fixed. You know, maybe they insulted the client. You know, because they had an attitude and backed the lawnmower into the guy's car. Now you lose that contract. Plus you got to pay for the car, so you got insurance. You know, you got your own family's health insurance that you have to pay. So at the end of the week, you know, you might be making $2-3 an hour. In profit. So, you know, it's everyone has to do something to put roof over their head and food on the table.
Right.
What works best for you?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And I don't think it's any more complicated than that.
Well, you've always said, even last week, that, you know, I try to find reasons that the people who are doing illegal, I'm talking about anything, they don't, if they knew more about what's available, if they had more awareness of what they could be doing. But you don't see that as the real problem, though.
No, they choose to do that.
They choose.
They choose to sell drugs. They choose to be in the distribution of illegal guns. They choose the sex. Well, everyone does not choose the sex trade.
Yeah,
but some do.
Some do.
They choose to make illegal porn films. These are decisions.
Right.
that people make.
Because you could turn the network into a pornography network.
I've had people, as you know, I've had people suggest to me, now you can make some money. Right. You just not doing the right product. And you put some topless girls on there doing the evening news, and you can make some real money.
Real money, yeah.
I've had people approach me with all kinds of things, Jonathan. But I'm not into any of that.
But see, I think it comes down to what you can live with, most people can't live with being demised as selling poison or selling your body. You got to be, I don't know if you got to be a unique person, but you got to be willing to be a certain person to go out there as a woman particularly, but even as a man, and engage in pornography where everybody's watching what you're doing. If you're a criminal drug dealer.
Some people are criminals.
So everybody may, I guess it's not for everybody, but you got to be a certain character.
There's always someone willing to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Right. But
whatever the task, you need someone to lay underwater pipe. There's someone that does it.
Right.
You need someone to go down and remove a nuclear warhead from a submarine that's imploded and sitting on the bottom of the sea. Mm-hmm. There's someone that does that, and they're very good at it. They know exactly what they're doing. Mm-hmm. There's someone that does everything. Go send an astronaut.
Right.
Miners.
Mm-hmm.
Digging uranium out of the ground, digging coal out of the ground.
Mm-hmm. Well, even to be begging for money on the street, you got to be a certain person that do that.
There's people who that's their job. They go out and they panhandle.
Yeah. So but you got to be. I guess you got to be that kind of person to be able to withstand that. I guess that's the best way I could think of describing it. It's not for everybody.
It's just a function of.
But I mean, at some point, Stan, I'm working on just getting a guest who made the transition from a drug dealer to a legitimate business person. I think if I'm able to get the guests on the show, it's going to be a dynamite interview. It's no guarantee I'm going to get the person on.
They went legit. A lot of people used to do something that they don't do anymore.
Right.
A lot of people they know the lifestyle, the quick, fast money, quote unquote, got thin real quick.
Yeah.
And no one needs that kind of pressure.
But we as a society can't wait for the government to reform things and make the policies to make the opportunities better. Like you said before, it's just too much money in drugs. That's why it's not going to be regulated.
Now, when you say we as a society, there's two words that I always shy away from. We. Who is we?
I generalize, right?
Yeah, and society is like another form of we. Well, individuals that want change in their life would do well to undertake that change and not wait for someone to come along and help.
Right.
Someone to come along and provide a program. Because now you are dependent on the helper or the program. And I don't think that being dependent on anything is a good thing. Mm-hmm. The only people you should be dependent on is your spouse.
Right.
And that's something you volunteered to get into. So, other than that, limit dependency as much as you can.
Yeah.
Your children are by default dependent on you.
Mm-hmm.
And clients are dependent on you.
Clients, right. True.
So you have an obligation to the client because they're depending on you. That's why they hired you.
No, but we are moving, and you're right, Stan. We is not a good terminology because we takes the emphasis off of you as an individual. You're generalizing everybody. But to be realistic, let's say if an organization or a group of people, now that's where you get more than one person, you are expecting certain things to change. Like I said many times before with Cliff Thornton with efficacy in his organizations, he feels we're operating like a dog chasing his tail. Until you get this money out of this drug economy and reshift it in a different direction, it may not factor into every particular problem. I agree with that, but it's at the root, directly or indirectly, of many problems. Don't expect many of the crime problems and the gun to really go away.
I agree. Cliff is absolutely right. The problem is, excuse me. The problem is, it's a cancer that cannot be eradicated. It's grown, and the corruption is so ingrained that it's.
Yeah, but you said last week, Stan, the drug problem is just too much money involved in it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's the money is the problem, and there's too much of it, and it flows like water from Niagara Falls, and most people govern their life through money. Most people can't imagine not accepting money for something or turning down money. That's how most people function. They just they can't even conceive. But what about the money? You could be making all kinds of money. But money is a tool, But most people will do anything,
right,
for money.
That's the problem then. When you're willing to do anything.
Right. They'll sell out their community. They'll take a bribe. They'll do whatever. They'll send someone to jail. So money corrupts judges. It corrupts politicians. It corrupts clergy. It corrupts entrepreneurs, automotive machine manufacturers. I mean, it corrupts everything. And if the price is right,
yeah,
folk will look the other way. They'll tilt their head the other way, and they'll go forward. You want me to do what? There's the old adage. I have a parade that I'm doing. I need a black man to roll a watermelon down the street on his hands and knees with a pencil. Just like that. Just for the parade.
Right.
And of course, no one will do it. But if I offer you $10 million, you want to give me $10 million to be on my hands and knees and roll a watermelon down the street?
Yeah.
Now the rationalization comes in. Well, if it was a movie set, I would do it. I mean, it could be a good comedy skit. Well, hey, so what? Folk are going to say something, this is about me. I need the money. Now the rationalization changes. Now, next year when I offer you to do it, that might be different. Because now your personal dignity is on the line. People talked about you. They laughed at you. They were disappointed in you. Now you suddenly, now I can't give you any amount of money. In fact, you would like to give me the money back and apologize publicly, but you can't do that.
Yeah.
So people will do all kinds of things if the price is right. Folk will kill someone for money.
They will.
They'll blow someone's house up for money. They'll lie on a witness stand for money.
But isn't that the biblical principle? The love of money is the root of all evil.
The love of money is the root of all evil. It's not money that's evil.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, the love of money.
But the thing I will say, Stan, is, and I use it as a arithmetic example. Let's say the guy that's even cutting grass or whatever. Okay, you're doing a task. One guy is going to pay you for a whole day's worth of work. Let's say $50. And you say after a while, wait a minute, man, what could I really do after running myself on the ground 10, 12 hours in the hot sun, whatever, $50, I buy lunch out of it, buy something to drink out of it. Now I'm down to probably $35 or $40. And then here's the problem though. You see another way to make $200 a day, but now it's illegal.
It's illegal because society has said you can't do this, and we've set up rules that we can hold you accountable for what you've done and sanction you in some particular way.
Right.
The criminal doesn't care whether it's illegal.
No, but I think where I'm trying to move at, Stan, is whether you're a criminal or not a criminal, if I'm creative and I figure that I can go from making $50 a day to $200 a day
doing something illegal.
Well, no, yeah, that's one way. But let's say if I'm able to find a legal way.
Well, then why not do it?
But if you're not able to find the legal way to do it, then some people, as you mentioned,
right. So we get back.
Make the choices.
We get back to the criminal.
Yeah,
that's a criminal.
Okay,
everyone is not a criminal.
Anything you do that's against the law for money or whatever, you are now automatically a criminal.
Anytime you willingly do something that you know is wrong, and are going, and you don't care,
right,
what the law says or what you don't care what the consequences of your actions are.
Right.
In fact, not only don't you care, you're fully aware of them. If I break into this man's house and break into his safe and steal his wife's jewelry, and they come home, I might have to shoot one of them.
Right.
But that's all right. He's supposed to be in D.C.
Yeah.
He ain't had no business coming home.
Right.
And I'm supposed to be upset because he came home. He the one with the problem. I mean, the criminal has a different way of processing. They don't care.
Right. But if drugs are legalized and you're able to get the dispensary license to sell marijuana,
that's not going to stop criminals.
You're not. No, but if you are the ones that get the license, you're not a criminal anymore. You're selling marijuana legally.
No, because now the sale of cannabis is legal. So you have a legal. But if you're not selling it legally, you will be a criminal.
Yeah.
You just like right now, if I decide to open up a little after hour, place where folk can get some liquid at night time. You party hard all night, you worked all day. It's 2:00 and some bureaucrat gonna tell you can't get something to drink. I got what you need.
Right.
Dr. Feel Good. Stop by my basement.
Right.
I open at 2:30 in the morning. Now, if you get caught, you can go to jail.
Yeah.
But you don't care. That's why you have a whole enterprise. You have a metal door on your basement. You got an emergency room underneath the basement where stuff could be dumped to get rid of the evidence.
Right.
This is a criminal.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Stan. I mean, there are more law-abiding citizens than there are criminals. If you take the person that's working all day for $50 a day, and he's frustrated at some point because he realized he can't get too far. At the end of the week, what do I really have to show for it? $250, and I got to pay. At least I gotta eat something at the very least.
There's no justification, Jonathan. Criminals.
I'm not. But see, here's the mistake. I'm not moving towards a criminal. I'm trying to get to how do the person you said before is dry.
But Jonathan, to me, this is not something that needs to be debated ad nauseum. If you need a job, then you have to go to work.
No, but if you need more money,
then you have to get a better job or live within your means. This is not rocket science.
All right.
You want, like Paul said earlier, there are people who want more, but they can't afford it. That means something.
Right.
Can't afford. That means you don't have the fiscal resources to acquire what you want. And I don't care whether you should have a flat screen or you deserve a pool or why should you have to live in a roach rat infested house.
Well,
you deserve all this other stuff. Then make more money.
Well, substandard housing, that is a problem.
Right. So everyone doesn't live in substandard housing. And a lot of the people that don't live in substandard housing used to live in substandard housing. But they grew up and they said, I'm not living like this no more. I'm going to get me a better paying job.
Right.
And that's what they did. That's what everyone has to do.
But Stan, you've always brought up to the focal point that you felt poverty becomes at the real root of the many problems that, a hostile environment of your inner cities. You've always tried to trace it back to poverty. You will bring up other factors like you're bringing up now. But truthfully, Stan, you've always kind of brought poverty as the main one of the main focal problems that we have as a society. So I'm not trying to say you're trying to twist it around and saying that if you can't make what you think you need to make, all of a sudden you do without. But poverty still doesn't go away.
Poverty doesn't go away, Jonathan, and neither does the fix. Just because someone is gripped in poverty doesn't mean that the way out is somehow changed. The rules don't change. Water flows to the lowest place. If you live in a basement because of poverty and the city gets flooded in the middle of the night because of a flash flood, then you will drown.
Right.
And so all of the justification, oh my God, they were gripped by poverty. Well, they were living in an illegal apartment underground. That's one of the reasons that the code says you can't live down there. Because in case of a flood in the night, you could drown.
Right.
And your way out could be blocked. These are things and decisions people have to make. Now, poverty is a separate issue. So if one talks about, well, we need to do something about people living in the basement. Well, what about poverty? They got to live somewhere. No, that's true.
Right.
But we also don't want them to drown. We don't want them to catch fire in an attic apartment illegally.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm saying.
Right. So, yeah, there are things that are impacted because of poverty. But that's not an excuse. You can move out of poverty by changing your circumstance by getting a job that pays you good. If you don't have an education, you can get an education so that you can get a job so that you can move out.
Right.
You may not be able to get an education. You may not be able to move out, so you're going to be gripped by poverty. So there are some things that society can do, or maybe even government, to alleviate the pains of poverty. There are lots of things that could be done, but generally speaking, most folks don't want to do those things to help out their fellow neighbors. They talk about them, but they don't execute them. And so, you know, the conversation can go on for hours about all this stuff. But at the end of the day, our conversation doesn't change reality. The only people that can change those situations, the primary people who can change those situations, are the ones involved in them.
Right.
And there are too many people who have started out at way below the bottom and made it. That means it can be done.
Yes, it can be done. Just like President Barack Obama as the first African American, although technically the first black president of America was some man named John Hanson, I believe. But under the United States, President Obama became the first black president. So you can do something. You can't use the word, I guess the word can't, you have to take that out of the vocabulary once it's been accomplished. So is it easy to become president of the United States? We know it's not easy. But I think what you were saying about poverty, at least what you're trying to refer to, is don't wait for the government or other big factors to eradicate poverty.
Absolutely not. Poverty is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Exactly.
If you're expecting poverty to go away, it's not going to go away because it's as lucrative as the drug business.
The drug business. Right.
Poverty is big business.
Yeah.
We don't need to grow cotton because people are cotton.
Right. Well, Stan, whether it makes no sense or not, if I'm lost, I like to know that I'm lost. It's like, again, I've said this before. If I'm on a ship and I don't know where I'm going at least like to become aware, okay, I'm lost. So if you're lost in society, you're confused, you don't know which direction you're moving into, the first step is to come to the realization that you're lost and you need help. Now, when you reach out for help, if you're having issues getting the type of help that you really need, then that's something else that you would have to work on. That may be another big problem. But again, if you're
Jonathan, there's no shortage of problems in life. And as one of the viewers said, she says she never received her life manual at birth stating that life would be easy.
Right.
Right. So yeah, there's always going to be problems.
Yeah. No, but the solution is you're lost and you're trying to get to where you need to go at. So you're not making up an excuses for a problem.
If someone is lost, Jonathan, they either have to find a way to get from being unlost by helping, by asking for help, or hope that someone sees that they're lost and offers to help.
Right.
Those are your only two solutions.
Right.
Most people that are lost don't know they're lost until they're wandering around. Well, depending upon what you define as lost.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that they're in that particular state.
Right. That's what I'm talking
about.
So
unless someone makes them aware of it and they receive what they're being told, or they come to some self-realization, they're not going to begin to look for a better way. If there is a better way, as defined by whoever it is that defines whatever the quote-unquote better way is, because a lot of these things are relative. You know. So I think that most people are driven by needs or wants or appetites, passions, and desires. And as people give into those, change comes. Hopefully those wants, needs, appetites, passions, and desires are good ones.
Good ones, that's the thing.
All right? Because people give into their dark side needs just as easily and as they do to their good side needs.
Yes.
So, people are human beings. They do what's in their best interest most times.
Right. But, you remember Paul Pacelli stating that he would rather deal with the problems of high cost of living and having low unemployment rate.
Given the choice that you gave him, he chose that.
He chose that one,
right.
Yes, to deal with that. So sometimes, I try to look at something as a challenge more than a problem. If you say it's a challenge, I'm trying, I can't find a place where I want to live at under my budget. But I got to look at it as a challenge, not so much as a problem. If you look at it as a problem, my car broke down. I can't get my car fixed. I don't got $1,000. I got to look at that as a challenge. You think sometimes your mindset, how you perceive something, also plays a role in how you'll go towards resolving it?
I think mindset has a lot to do with how people resolve things. But some problems are real problems. And you have to come up with a fix.
Right.
Now, I understand the challenge. I think that there are many, many things that people see as problems that are opportunities for, for success, opportunities for things. But that I don't want to minimize legitimate and real problems and challenges. You may not be able to find an apartment that you can afford in this area. If you were in Jersey City, you wouldn't be able to live. I wouldn't be able to live in Jersey City. I don't make enough money to live in Jersey City.
Right.
All right. I don't make enough money to live in Midtown Manhattan.
Midtown, yeah.
So I'm going to have to live in the outskirts and take a subway in or a train in or bicycle or bus or walk or carpool. Those are the options. I may not be able to work in New York or in that area because I can't afford to maintain a house and eat. This place is for people who make way more money than I can make.
Right.
So let me move to Camden.
Well, that's going down now. When you saying Camden,
I'm
that's a big
just joking
step.
because my son-in-law is from Camden.
Are you from Camden? Oh, boy.
But he can afford to live wherever he wants. But
Well, I think the thing, when I say challenging problems now, keep in mind, when you go to the grocery store every day or every week and the bills are this amount and you can't afford it, you got to eat. That might be a problem. I don't know if that's a challenge. I go to the grocery store, I need milk, I need eggs, I need bread, I need fruits, I need meat, some meat. The bill last year was $40. Now it's $80 for the same amount of food.
Well,
so
that's inflation.
That's inflation. So that's a problem.
Now, if inflation is a problem. Inflation's I go to Whole Foods. So Whole Foods has this chocolate cake. It's a chocolate mousse cake. it was $15.
Mm-hmm.
Now some may say $15 for chocolate mousse cake.
Yeah.
And I think it was a 5-inch chocolate mousse cake. But if I go down to, well, Morton's isn't here anymore, but if I went down to Capitol Grill and got a slice of their chocolate cake,
Mm-hmm.
just go in and get it, like to go, which is a ridiculous undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, if you did that, the slice of cake, by the time you come out of it, it's like it's just like $12, which is not a lot if you're going out to eat someplace special, and that's what the dessert is.
Right.
Now, I could get a whole cake for $15.
Mm-hmm.
And, you rationalize it, justify it, you work hard. I deserve a nice little piece of cake. I like chocolate cake. So, but now, it's $25.
25, yeah. It's going on.
It's way over my budget.
Right.
I'm not paying $25. I'm not going to do that. It makes, now someone's buying it, but it's not me. I'm in the muffin range,
Yeah.
Let me get some blueberry muffins and some toast them in the oven and call it a day.
Uh-huh.
But I can't afford that. That's for everything, though. Everything has gone up.
Gone up, yeah.
Because there's so much money in the marketplace, everybody wants more of the money, so the prices go up. Now, eventually they'll start to drop back down, but it's going to be very slow. And it means a lot of people are not going to be able to buy what they once bought. And so for the people who make products and need to sell products in order to stay in business, they're going to have to charge more just to stay, just to make the money that they used to make.
Mm-hmm.
And so it ripples and everything starts going up. Everything. Bottle of water. Gas goes up. Gas doubles now. It takes you twice as much. That's money out of your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Plus food goes up. That's more money out your pocket. And so, someone said Whole Foods is expensive. Whole Foods is not expensive.
Uh-huh.
Going to the doctor because you don't eat well is expensive.
Right.
So you deserve quality food in your stomach. And one thing I learned, the first thing I learned when I got my very first job at Pratt & Whitney, and I learned this from a fellow Pratt rat. We were both 19.
Uh-huh.
And he said, No. This guy was a little bit older than me. He was talking to the two of us. He said there's two things he will always have: heat and the best food he could afford.
Yeah.
I never forgot that. He said, because I work for a living. So I'm never going to be cold in my apartment or house, and I'm never going to be hungry.
Well, that makes sense.
That absolutely makes sense. Before I would buy a TV, I'm going to buy food.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense that people don't eat well.
Well, I think
because you can eat well, and it's not that much more expensive.
Well, the thing about what somebody said about Whole Foods is Whole Foods is going to be more expensive than Save a Lot, but you're getting a different quality of food at Whole Foods than you get at Save a Lot.
I ain't nothing against Save a Lot.
I'm just telling you like it is. It's just
no. I'm telling you, there are different qualities of Whole Foods, and when you go and see what you buy and taste it, you will never
I agree with
go
that.
back to buying food. There's a reason why they sell salmon at Save-A-Lot for the price they do.
Right.
And the salmon at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
There's a reason. And food is medicine.
It is.
People say that all the time.
Yeah.
Particularly the food desert folk. Well, food is medicine and we deserve quality food. Then act like it. Start shopping where the quality food is.
Yeah. But sometimes, you got to still, even when you go to Whole Foods, man, if I see a roast beef for $50, can't afford to drop $50 for it. I mean, it's a good quality meat, no doubt about it.
There ain't that much roast beef in the world.
For $50.
What kind of roast beef you buying?
Well, no, one time a friend wanted me to buy her a roast beef. I think it was I don't know how many pounds it was for her family or whatever. And I look at the price.
Is she married?
She's married.
And she wants you to buy her a roast beef.
Well, it's just like, I mean, she bought me a present and I was going to buy her a present. So she asked, what did she want? And she said, like a roast beef. So, just buy her a roast beef, and everything. It don't make, but I'm not saying, I go to Whole Foods anyway and I see, because that got me looking at the prices of their meat. And you look at the steak meat, it's expensive. I mean, they got top quality meat.
As
fish.
Expensive as a steak is at Whole Foods, it's less than a steak going to a restaurant.
A restaurant, right. It is.
And you could get the best steak and cook it yourself.
I have learned that.
It's hard to eat a whole pound of steak.
Yeah. Well, the thing, I mean, I've cut back on red meat anyway. So
right. I don't eat red meat.
So
I have no idea how much roast beef or steak costs.
Yeah. It's now don't get me wrong, every now and then I may have a burger or something like that, but I've kind of limited myself on red meat, because the ground beef at Whole Foods, I get the grass fed meat. It's very tasty.
You notice the difference between that and Stop and Shop?
Oh, definitely. And I go to Stop and Shop too, but I don't even buy meat at Stop and Shop.
I don't stop and shop at Shop and Stop. I go to Walmart.
You told me that, yeah.
Yeah, everything you need is at Walmart.
Less than Stop and Shop.
Yeah, all your little crunchies. It's shameful to see us come out to Walmart, because we go to Walmart. We might probably go today, either today or tomorrow. The Walmart, your Doritos, your Lay's chips,
right?
Your Fritos chips, your pretzels, your canned goods, your oranges, like the little oranges, peaches, everything you get at Walmart in a can. Anything you get in a can or a bag. Sodas, all that. Walmart
has it, yeah.
I can't imagine. The only thing I go to Stop and Shop for is ice cream.
They got better ice cream?
Well, they have the full range. And for whatever reason, the ice cream up at the Walmart over here,
Flatbush. Yeah.
I don't know who's managing the store, but they just have disrespected ice cream. They should be banned from selling ice cream, because they let you have to like chip the ice cream out.
Oh.
No other Walmart is like that. But the one there, it's ridiculous. It's like they let it thaw and freeze.
Yeah.
And it just sits there. No one buys it, so it just stays there. I don't think they have a permanent manager there.
Yeah, I don't even really buy ice cream. If I do buy ice cream, it'll be strawberry. That's one of my favorite flavors.
Yeah, mandarin oranges, yeah.
Okay, and I thought Breyers was one of the top ice creams. I don't know what type of ice cream that you buy.
Haagen-Dazs.
Haagen-Dazs?
Haagen-Dazs.
Haagen-Dazs?
Yeah.
So you don't buy Breyers then?
I used to buy Breyers, but Breyers has guava gum in it, and I like Breyers. I'm from Philadelphia. Breyers is not a bad ice cream, but Haagen-Dazs. Now you're starting to talk about the Ice Cream Collective. This is a sacred space that we have on Facebook. The Ice Cream Collective. We touch the ground in the presence of ice cream. Okay. So the Ice Cream Collective. Breyers is. I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever submitted Breyers as a legitimate ice cream, but it is. Don't get me wrong. Breyers is not a bad ice cream. But Haagen-Dazs and Bart's. Now Bart's is expensive, but when it comes to ice cream,
well, it must be top quality then if it's that expensive.
Bart's says right on the little thing, for those who know the difference. Yeah, Bart's is good. Hand packed.
All right.
I mean, if you're gonna do some things, treat yourself to something good.
You can get Bart's at Whole Foods?
No. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can't get it at Haagen-Dazs. I mean, you can't get it at Walmart.
Yeah, next time I go there, then I'll look for this ice cream Bart's.
Yeah, the
I'll
Bart's.
treat myself.
Treat yourself to some Bart's, and then you'll stop eating any other ice cream.
And they got strawberry. They had the strawberry
I think
flavor.
they do have strawberry.
Yeah, that's my.
Yeah, Ben and Jerry's isn't bad.
Ben and Jerry, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of them in a while. Ben and Jerry. I guess
if you like stuff in your ice cream. Now, Ben and Jerry's makes a good vanilla ice cream.
Vanilla goes good with certain things, but that's not my top. Cherry, strawberry, some chocolate, not all chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate's got to be the right
chocolate.
right.
You know, vanilla, I don't know. I used to like vanilla, but no.
You got to get the right vanilla bean.
Vanilla bean?
Now, that's where Breyers excels.
Okay.
The Breyers vanilla bean. Not the Breyers French vanilla, but the vanilla bean.
Right. That's a difference. Yeah.
That there's a definite difference. Yeah.
Do you buy almond milk, or you don't drink milk? Do you?
I don't drink milk.
I love almond milk.
No.
Yeah.
Anything milk. I don't like. Oddly enough, I like ice cream, but I don't like. I can't drink. I don't like milk. I don't like the taste of milk.
Oh. And almond milk, they claim, is healthy for you. It's not a dairy. Technically, almond milk is not a dairy product. That's what
nor should it be called milk. It's almond juice.
Almond juice, yeah.
Right.
So it's not even really a milk then.
Right. Milk comes from cows or goats.
But almond is my substitute for milk.
Do you eat cereal?
Every now and then. I don't eat as much as I used to, but I use the almond for it.
Right. Favorite cereal?
Oh boy, you're testing me now. I mean, what's the Total or Cheerios? but you want the flavor, right? You want
no. Just as long as you didn't say Captain Crunch.
Oh no, man. I'm a Total person, 100%. I like Total, but it got to be a nice flavor to it, though. You know, honey oats. They got all different brands, though, man. Cheerios got all different brands. It's either Cheerios or Total for the cereal. And
Cheerios is a wholesome cereal. I don't eat cereal, but my daughters eat cereal. My wife eats the kind of, like I call it gravel.
Oh, gravel?
Yeah, it's got, those cereals, it's got the kind of, everything in it, nuts, whole,
I don't like those
oats, and all kinds of other stuff. It's like granola with milk.
Granola, yeah, it's healthy for you.
Yeah.
So, but it don't have the right taste. I gotta be challenging myself to find out the healthiness of what I'm looking to buy and the right taste. You get Total that has 100% of everything.
You strike me as the kind of guy that would buy cereal from like a GNC.
I bought
vitamin health food store.
Yeah, well, not GNC though. I used to go there, and some of their products I've been questioning. But I will buy not cereal though. I buy products from the health store, but not cereal. Protein powder.
Yeah.
I go to a health store for that. You can get some protein in your other regular products too, but I'm not the cocoa person. I don't drink that stuff anymore. Cocoa. What they call it, Nestle?
Oh, Nestle.
Yeah, I don't drink that. Well, it's cocoa.
Chocolate milk mix. Nestle
chocolate milk.
Nestle makes chocolate milk mix, but the Hershey, cocoa.
Cocoa, but Ovaltine is supposed to be the healthier one.
I remember Ovaltine.
But the taste ain't all that.
No, I remember Ovaltine when I was a kid. I rebelled against Ovaltine. I think it was an effort that my mother was undertaking to have me drink milk.
Yeah.
You didn't put chocolate in it, strawberry milk. The quick with
That's the one.
The strawberry milk.
Strawberry milk. Yep.
Oh, and what else? Chocolate milk, strawberry. Chocolate milk you could make it a little bit more tolerable, but the strawberry and then Ovaltine.
Yeah, Ovaltine is okay. It got some health benefits to it, but the taste is kind of so-so. It's not the best tasting.
There's nothing tasty about Ovaltine.
Nah, nothing really tasty. The gooder taste in products is not healthy for you. See, I read the ingredients at the back of the label, so I try to reduce the sugar intake. I don't like a lot of sugar, so it's a big challenge when I go to the store looking for the products that has no high fructose.
We should do a whole show. Jonathan goes shopping.
I can't believe
we went into the store. It was 8 a.m. By 6:15, Jonathan had made a decision.
Yeah, I can't believe you got me on the light side. I'm always talking about heavy topics, hard. This is like Mr. Cleo's show now. Y'all keep it.
Yeah. This is Friday
show.
Friday
little
mix.
Friday show. Yeah. And everything. But hey, it's nice for a change and everything. And pizza. You got certain pizzas that you like to eat.
Well, see, pizzas. We all go to Harry's Bishop's Corner.
Yeah.
Because my daughter likes that pizza there. I generally don't eat pork, but I will do the bacon pizza from Harry's.
I stay away from pork.
Yeah, pork is poison.
Yeah, but I will eat.
But they don't put a lot on it. On it. You make it real crispy. Bring it home and doctor it up. Put it under the broiler. Let it fry up some more.
You need to try hamburger. Like you get a combination hamburger, onions. I like hamburgers sometimes. Onions, peppers, tomatoes. I like the vegetable style. But if you're going to give me a meat, put a little hamburger on it. I can't deal with sauce.
Chicken. You ever have the barbecue chicken?
Not on a pizza. Mm-mm.
Oh, yeah. The buffalo chicken pizza.
Buffalo chicken, it tastes good.
Oh, yeah. That's nice.
You don't like
on the crispy side.
Yeah. I bet you don't like frozen pizza though.
Oh no,
you couldn't stand to eat frozen pizza. Yeah, it's hard to find a nice frozen pizza. I ain't gonna lie to you about that.
Pizza. Who eats frozen pizza?
I used to eat it every now and then, but it just don't taste good. It's just like I'm wasting my money, man. I'm buying frozen pizza, and I gotta look for a good one, and it's hard, man. It's just hard to find a good one.
Buying frozen pizza is like, in the wintertime where the guy's standing outside the store. It's got a little barrel to keep him warm. Just put your money in the barrel.
Okay.
It just cut out the middleman. Just burn the money.
Yeah, frozen pizza, man. Throwing your money away.
DiGiorgio makes frozen pizza, right?
They do. I don't even know how that pizza tastes. I don't think I've never had that. I think the name is just carrying the pizza. I don't think that pizza.
And isn't there like a Celeste or something like that pizza?
There's. That's been around for a long time.
Maybe we should have a frozen pizza contest. It's been so long. I shouldn't just out of the box dog frozen pizza, because there could be a legitimate good frozen pizza, but
there's a couple, but you gotta really search for it. And you might be paying more money for the good top frozen pizza than you would be going to a restaurant. So I can't tell you for sure, but I like the healthy foods, pizzas, but the vegetable pizza, dude, if you get onions, peppers, tomatoes,
now you know who has a good pizza pie? A good pizza pie, First and Last.
It's a restaurant name, First and Last. I'm out of touch, man, with these places you're talking about.
There's a place you don't know down on Maple Avenue, First and Last Tavern.
Oh, okay.
Restaurant,
yeah. I probably passed. I just haven't paid attention to
right there by Goodwin Park.
Goodwin Park?
On the corner. First and Last used to be the bakery, but the bakery's closed. Yeah, it's too high. First and Last Pizza. That's not First and Last Pizza. The First and Last restaurant has a good pizza, but their pizza's thin crust.
It's not like the New York style downtown Hartford on Main Street near the old Sage Island or the G.
But that's Pietro's.
Pietro's, yeah. Does it taste something like that?
I was never a fan of Pietro's pizza.
Yeah, a little overrated.
Well, I don't know whether it's rated over or not, but I like their Philly cheesesteak.
Tastes very good. You're right.
Right. They had a good Philly cheesesteak. I would ride my bicycle there at night to get a Philly cheesesteak. But the hands down number one place to get a Philly cheesesteak is G's.
Okay.
On Park Street.
Park Street.
Across from George's. Which is where you go if you're going to get calzone.
So everything is good on you get the toppings that taste nice, lettuce, tomato.
Philly cheesesteak?
Philly cheesesteak.
Philly cheesesteak should have cheese and steak. Maybe a little grilled onion. That's it.
You don't put other
maybe you're gonna push the outer envelope some sauce. Other than that, it's not a real cheesesteak.
So you don't like the actual.
I'm from Philly.
Philly, yeah.
Right. You got Pat's, and then you got one other place. Pat's was the place though.
I like a good Philly cheesesteak sandwich though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, Philly cheesesteak.
Good, but it got to be a good place.
It's hard to find a good cheesesteak outside of Philadelphia. You're sinking lower and lower and lower in the chair, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. Because we haven't even taken a break though. That's the thing about it. I'm trying to. We've been on for 2 hours, I think, or 2.5 hours.
2 hours and 45 minutes.
It's just.
I have a shoot at 12, so
okay.
I really should be off the air, but. This is such an interesting conversation.
Interesting conversation. Yeah, keeping it light. But this past week, I had called into the program.
Oh, that's right. You called in on a Wednesday.
Yeah, no, was it Tuesday? I thought it was Tuesday. No, Wednesday. You're right, Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah, because Dr. Bowen was not here.
Yeah, Luis made a very strong comment, man, calling Mayor Bronin a racist.
Well, that's how he feels.
That's how he feels. He speaks his mind.
He does.
But, that's a strong comment to call someone. You got to show
sure.
evidence.
I'm sure that he can't figure out what's wrong with you that you don't even see it. That's where Luis will.
I'm trying to figure out, when you say a person is a racist, I'm picturing he just doesn't like black people. But
Racists?
Well, I mean, one race against another race. It's like he's saying Mayor Bronin has something against black.
No.
He wasn't.
I don't think racist denotes an angst against somebody. It's more the superiority of my race.
Well, that's why I probably felt that he was wrong.
And the systems that are in place that keep me in that place of superiority. So into that degree, it's clear that the mayor doesn't dislike black people.
But I thought that's how he was kind of referring, but maybe that's not what he was referring. And you saying that's not really what a racist is then?
No, I don't think he meant it in the context in which he was stating it is not the context in which you were receiving it, because you're processing it as the mayor dislikes. He's saying the mayor dislikes black people. I don't think that that's what Luis is saying. But you can call him on Wednesday and clarify that, because I don't like speaking for other people.
Yeah, he was saying something about because I called him back. I was on the line, and I just wanted to make sure that what he was saying was
right. He doubled down so that you would have no misunderstanding.
Right, and he said he believes yes, the mayor is a racist, because he was saying something about when you are not providing the means for certain people to have a better life or whatever. Because I mentioned something about maybe is it the policies that you're talking about, but I never asked him directly. Like I just stated,
you can ask him stuff directly. He'll tell you.
Right. But I mean, last week, I didn't say, does the mayor have anything against black? I didn't come right out directly and ask him, is that what he's talking about? Just like you just clarified it. If he's saying the mayor Bronin is doing something for superiority, to making the race of white people superior, is that kind of, again, what you're saying? I just want to make sure that we're on the same page with this statement.
I don't believe he is defining racism as only someone not liking black people. That is not
right.
That is not his definition of racist.
Okay. But the mayor, he feels, is doing something to keep one race superior over the other race. And I don't know if I don't know if
I wouldn't process it that way. I would ask Luis. Call him and ask
I'll call him back, because I mean to look at the program again, I would have to go all the way back. I mean, I could find the statement or the question that I asked him, and I could find his answer. But maybe, like you say, it'd be better just to call him back again, because
either rewatch it or call him for clarification. I can't clarify what he thinks, because I'm not inside his head.
Right.
So I stay out of. I try to stay out of the business of telling people what other folk think.
But see, here's the argument. And first of all, that's still a strong statement when you call someone a racist. You can twist it around, technicalities or whatever. The only thing about Luis, and I'll tell him this, I'm not going to talk behind the man's back. I didn't get a chance the last time, but I'll even tell him this, though. Some of the things he will say is that we can't do anything with white people in charge. Now, maybe there's certain things you can't do with like another race. But if he's trying to put down, it sounds like to me at times Luis is kind of blaming or putting down another race of people. And I guess in America we have a double standards, because maybe a black person could say things about a white person that a white person can't say things about a black person. Meaning that if a white person was on a program and he was saying some of the things that Luis said, well, look, if you got black people in charge of leadership, there's no way we could run the city. He will say things referring to white people that white people in charge, we can't do certain things and do that. So you got to be careful, because if a white person comes across and say the same thing that Luis saying, black people are going to look at it totally different. So you can't to me, if Luis is saying something that's, particularly if it's wrong. Now, if he feels if it's right what he's saying, that with white people in charge, we can't do this or we can't do that. Because if you really pay close attention to Luis, he will bring that up every now and then. He don't bring it up all the time, but he will say, look, we got these crazy white people, and he's stated that one time before. Maybe he's not thinking sometime when he's making these statements.
I think he's thinking. I think that's what he believes.
Right.
So that's what he says.
But see, black people can't say that though. It'll look racist. Well, hold on. White people can't come on a format. If you heard like Paul Pacelli or Dan Lovallo come and they had somebody on the program and they said, well, we got these black people, so we can't do anything because the way that they act. People will look at him as a racist, saying, "Well, what kind of commentaries is Dan bringing in?"
Well, there are double standards all over the place.
Yeah.
The standards are different depending upon where they're coming from. We're well into the age of situational ethics, so the situation determines the ethical standard.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are the way people feel. I think it's always best for people to be expressive on how they feel so that you can adjust accordingly and now have real conversations to help folk come to a place where we can all get along. We don't have to all agree, but we can all get along. But you can't get along if you don't know what people honestly think.
Right.
So I never am put back because somebody thinks a certain way. That's just how they think. It's just like salt and sugar, different taste, even though they look the same.
Yeah.
But the viewer asked Jonathan to compare Dr. Claude Anderson's states.
Yeah,
the definition of racism to Luis's definition.
Yeah, see, Dr. Claude Anderson, when he mentioned about white people being in charge and we can't function in the same country with the way white people have run, I think Dr. Anderson brings more of a historical, factual evidence.
But he's making the same statement.
He's making the same statement, yeah. Well, white people being, yeah, you're right. To some degree, Luis is making
right. So if I tell you that the A train is leaving at 10 o'clock. And you say, well, how can you say something like that? Because that's what time it leaves. But, you don't know nothing about the A train. It's their first time here. Now, an old guy comes up and taking the A train for 36 years. He's got historical context on the arrival of the train, this, that, and the third. The time is the time is the time. It doesn't matter who's saying it.
The only difference maybe, and I got to pay more close attention maybe to even Dr. Claude. I don't think Dr. Claude Anderson will call white people crazy. He may feel that way. He may say, he don't say we're crazy white people in charge. Luis will say things like that. So maybe it's certain ways Luis is describing the same thing that Dr. Claude Anderson has stated. It's almost like with Minister Farrakhan talking at times about Jews, and bloodsuckers and things like that. Or maybe it wasn't Minister Farrakhan calling Jews bloodsuckers. Maybe it was somebody else. But I'm just saying, sometimes you can say almost the same thing, but you can kind of put a few words in it.
Well, this is the art of communication and why nuance matters. Words mean things. And
right.
So as people get better at communicating, they learn that there's ways that you have to say things.
Exactly.
Because people will misunderstand what you said. And so you have to be a little bit more direct, and you have to be more cautious in what you say. Yeah. Now, when you start to get to that level, people accuse you of being political in your delivery.
Uh-huh.
But reckless words are worse than matches in a dynamite factory.
Right.
So you have to be very careful what you say.
Yeah.
And sometimes people want to say stuff to be explosive. They say things purposely to be explosive, but all those things, everything has a consequence.
I was going to ask Luis last week, but for some reason I didn't get around to asking him. I was going to ask him, do he know, or does he know of Dr. Claude, not Dr. Kuba Assegai? Because there's like I've said before, there's some similarities of Luis to the late Dr. Kuba Assegai.
In delivery?
Well, delivery, yes.
Or in sentiment?
Sentiment, too. How he feels. Because I'm willing to bet you, I can't say 100% for sure, because I knew Dr. Kuba Assegai. What Dr. Kuba Assegai would say off of the air would be scary.
Right.
But he would also say things on the air too, though.
But Dr. Assegai was extremely selective. There's nothing he didn't say on the air that was not intentional.
Right.
There aren't many human beings I would compare to Dr. Assegai.
The Dr. Assegai. So maybe you don't.
I like Luis and everything.
But you don't think he's similar. Just your instinct, you don't see the similarity.
Well, I can't sit here on this airway and say and not make that statement.
Yeah.
I mean, there are very few people.
He sounds like
you can compare to Dr.
Dr. Assegai. Well, he said some of the things that Dr. Assegai, even last week, because you're talking about the system and that he feels he can't work in the political system. Dr. Assegai was one time saying you can't get out of a crisis with the same mentality that got you in the crisis. It may not be the exact same thing that Luis was talking about, but he doesn't believe the political system, from what he stated last week here, can be effective and work for black and brown people. He thinks that we can't function and operate in this political system that's set aside for us to function. We need to create our own political system. That's what he was saying.
Well, that people say that's always that it's a dynamite factory, not mattress factory. Dynamite factory.
Dynamite factory.
Yeah. We're not going to start our own political system. That's just
that's what I'm saying.
So, I mean, people talk that. And then that may be like the poverty. Yeah, maybe that is what needs to be done, but that ain't happening.
And I think I hadn't even mentioned that. You got to work with the political system. I said
you have to work with the system that is in place. If you want to see what will happen to somebody who goes to try to change the existing political system, you only need to know one word or one name. And that is Trump.
And speaking of Trump do say things out of his mouth that's not presidential, and you could say it's borderline racism, because people have asked, is Donald Trump a racist?
Well, there are many who would say yes.
Yeah. My family member up in Boston, he speaks very highly of Donald Trump.
I know plenty of black folks who speak highly of Donald Trump.
Right. But see, the family of the friend, he goes by what Trump has delivered. But
and all of the ones I know go by what he's delivered. They care less about his little words.
Well, again, I mean,
but we live in a time. There was this interesting thing. I can't repeat it because it was very distasteful. But there's a little thing on the air where the guy, kids in the 80s would stump their toe and they keep walking. Kids in the 90s stump their toe and they cuss. The kids now stump their toe and it's the end of the world and they're all damaged and they can't function in society anymore. And that's where we are. We're in a space and time where calling someone out of their gender that they've chosen is a high offense that could get you fired. Now, here we are in one of the most dangerous times in human history, and folk are offended because somebody said something. Once again, words are dangerous. But I mean, really? Really?
Yeah.
Imagine going into the bar and having a bar fight and calling somebody a name and they break down and cry. It used to be you went into the bar and said the wrong thing, you get your rear end kicked.
Yeah.
Beat to death with a cue ball. Right? Folk wasn't afraid to go in and have a fight. Nowadays, people, he offended me because of the way he gave me a strong, what is it? A strong, he was using microaggression against me and he gave me a strong look and I'm very offended by that. And that's real for a lot of people. It really, really is. But, I just...
Well, words, I mean, as long as what the words you're stating is factual. Because, again, I mean, many people, the younger people, don't remember Dr. Kuba Assegai. One thing about me, Stan, is I got a good memory, and I can go back remembering many different statements that the late Dr. Kuba Assegai stated, whether it was on K&D radio, whether it was at different functions. He is, like you say, maybe Luis is not the same as Dr. Kuba. I just have never met Luis, so I don't really know the other side of him. But I sense he has some radicalism in him, similar to the late Dr. Kuba Assegai. I definitely got to feel that if he was off of the air, he would say a lot more stronger things about other races of people than what he is saying. I think you have to keep it somewhat not restricted, but you can't let this man go loose. And even Dr. Assegai, I mean, the list of what Dr. Assegai stood up for and how he advocated things is just too long to go into. But he was definitely a strong, dominating type of person. I mean, we could definitely stand corrected. I mean, we could definitely agree on that. Whether Luis has had issues with people like Dr. Assegai had, I don't know. I don't know him off of the air, but maybe I do see some similarities between the two, but maybe there's a lot of differences too, Stan, between the two. You see him every week, so I mean,
I knew Dr. Assegai, and I mean, I didn't know him like real well, but right. I mean, I knew him. We talked on several occasions and been involved with him in different things. But Prince.
Prince, yes, I know Prince.
You remember when Dr. Assegai was on Prince's show?
I do remember that.
You remember when Prince asked Dr. Assegai if he would read his book?
That part, I think I do remember something like that, because you're talking 2013 or 2012 or 2013.
Dr. Assegai says, "I will not waste my time reading your book."
Right. He speaks his mind.
Prince was thunderstruck. He said, "Well, why? Your book has no substance because you don't."
Right. That's him. That's Dr. Assegai.
Dr. Assegai.
Oh, yeah.
You gonna get in a room with Dr. Assegai, you better bring all your cards to every library you have ever been in.
Yeah.
With every book in it.
Right.
Because there's nothing he hasn't read, no one he doesn't know about, and that's not the guy to want to get into any kind of discussion. When I'm in Dr. Assegai's company, I'm in one mode. Listening.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you got to almost be in defensive mode with Dr. Assegai.
No, there's nothing to be defensive about. Yeah. Leave yourself open to learn.
To learn, yes.
Right. You can't defend yourself against Dr. Assegai because you don't know half as much.
Yeah. Well, I tell you,
as he knows. I mean, I would put my knowledge base of Dr. Assegai would fill half a thimble. That's how I see Dr. Assegai.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who is. I don't know anyone who.
Well, the late Dr. Assegai has stated that he is like the Marcus Garvey of his era when he was here. That it hasn't been anyone that has come. Particularly to the black community since Marcus Garvey. He's like the Marcus Garvey of his era. He's a Pan-Africanist, no doubt about it. But he thinks at the level,
right, and he is not a man of he doesn't mince words.
No,
and he was not a man who talked.
Mm-hmm.
He walked the walk.
He did.
So when you talk about Pan-Africanism, this ain't no theory with Dr. Assegai. They not books he read.
Yeah. He was a soldier. He was a former soldier.
Right. He's writing those books.
Right. He was an exile.
And give you both sides of the story and defend both sides.
Yeah.
That's what the PhD is for.
Right. Well, I don't know.
Dr. Assegai was no joke.
No joke, yeah. Well, I don't hear people talking about Luis the way they talked about Dr. Assegai. So, like,
in a negative way,
both negative and positive. Maybe I'm not around that circle of people, so I have not met Luis, so I'm not in his presence.
Maybe you should come in one day.
Yeah, we got to arrange
come
that
in on a
Wednesday and just meet this man.
Meet him
to do that. But Dr. Assegai definitely, man, was a different, unique person. That's why I suggested a couple weeks ago about the film or the movie.
He would make now that would be a biopic.
Mm-hmm. Idris Elba would be an excellent choice as the actor. Based the story on Dr. Assegai, you know, from his time being born as a child in St. Kitts and Nevis at 3 years old of age, going to Birmingham, England, and then from him coming from Birmingham, England to the United States, being deported back to, I believe it was St. Kitts and Nevis, if I'm not mistaken. Then he came back to the United States. Then he was the National Security Director for about a year or two in St. Kitts and Nevis, and he came back to the United States. So there's a tremendous story. But Femi's the one that got a green light. That Femi Bogle, Assegai, his wife, would have to green light that. But yeah, I mean, Dr. Assegai was definitely a unique person. I mean, however you felt about him, you knew where he was coming from. There was no sugarcoating or fakeness about him.
Yeah, much respect. Much respect.
But hey, man, I had a good time this morning on the show.
Jonathan Smalls here every Monday.
Right.
As we kick off the week of great conversation, so we'll be back on on Wednesday live. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays live. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays are repeated the day before. All right, and then Sunday morning's Bible study. So I will see you next time. You all have a fabulous rest of your day. Thank you, Mr. Small. Great guest.
All right. Thank you very much for that.
All right. So my friends, we'll see you. You all have a great rest of your day. Bye. And check out the West Indian Day celebration parade. It's on YouTube, so check it out. And of course, it's on our network at accesstv.org under W4 News. All right, check out next time. Bye-bye.